Excuse me, Mr. White, I did not hear you. Thank you. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission's meeting of Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. We have, please introduce yourselves.
Jessica Park.
Kwame Barty.
Michael Mercier.
Denise Schultz.
Sandy Slavin.
Carol Melanson.
Nicole Lacurdo.
Mr. Bichette is not with us tonight, and we will now go, we have minutes. We have no minutes for review. There have been some submitted, but they're being reviewed by Mr. Bichette before they're passed to us for our comments and review. So no minutes. First hearing, please. Mr. Kwame.
Okay, pursuant of the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass, on Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30, for request for determination of applicability for NAZB can't see.
I think you have the wrong one. Mr. Kathleen
we have-
Provost is the first one.
Yeah, we have to roll over the one that's requested to be continued, because correct me if I'm wrong, 18 Beach Street is being continued, correct?
No, not that I know of.
I thought it wasn't. Okay, then my fault.
excuse me.
Provost is the next hearing.
Okay,
All right,
sorry.
that's my fault.
That's all right, and I'll help you with Nazi's last name.
Sorry. Pursuant of the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass, on Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. Request for determination of applicability for William and Kathy Provost, 36K Mary Drive, Attleboro, Mass. 02730, to construct a front porch and a three-season room addition located on Assessors Map 50D, Lot 55, 18 Beach Street, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing that project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, I'm William Provost.
I'm Kathleen Provost.
Yes, have a seat and come up to the mic, and can you pass out the plans, please? We can share down this end. Just give me the phone, everything stapled together. Yep. Yep, that's it. They'll share down there. I don't need one. I have a copy of it. That's okay. Okay. And Ms. Schultz will read the field notes from Mr. Bichette on the project.
A site inspection was made at 18 Beach Street. The project involves the construction of a front porch and an enclosed rear deck in the buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland and within coastal flood zone. An 8 by 26 foot front porch is proposed, and a 16 by 20 foot enclosed rear deck is proposed. Approximately 75 feet from the edge of the wetland and within flood zone VE elevation 1. The deck and the front porch will be supported on sonnet tube footings. All work will be done by hand, and there are no grade changes proposed. The work is being done within the existing landscape yard area. Recommend the issuance of a negative determination number 2.
Thank you. William, Kathleen, anything to add to that?
No.
Okay, I will go around and ask questions. Nicole,
No questions. Thank you.
Denise,
No questions.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Michael.
I guess the only question or concern I would have would be any changes in drainage or runoff going into any abutters' properties, either in the back or any side of you.
We are only using sonotubes, so it's completely open. The land is going to be open. It's going to be up above ground, so we're not going to be changing any.
No, he's talking about the runoff from your
No, the runoff.
structures.
We're not.
Your roof.
Oh, from the roof?
Yeah.
Yeah. On the porch.
So the back porch already exists, and you're just trying to close it in?
Well, there's an existing roof, it's a smaller
Yes.
roof line.
So his question is, have you accounted for drains off of the front porch or the back deck?
It'll be the same drainage coming from, I mean,
The answer is, you're just nothing.
Right, no,
You
we
have the normal downspouts.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking, Michael?
I was concerned about any possible drainage increasing to like any, into the, say like any butters property, say like in the back or any of the sides. We should be fine there.
the same downspouts are going to be there, so,
Okay.
That are
All right.
already there.
yeah.
Okay.
they're
All right.
already there.
Right, you're a builder, so
Yeah, the downspouts are going to be there, that are there. It's going to just be covering the same gutter and downspouts. So,
And it looks like they're the same elevation as their neighbors. I don't see any changes on the plan to indicate a change in height.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
I have none. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on this?
Me.
Oh, sorry.
No questions, thank you.
It's not in the sequence of sitting around the table, and I got confused. Sorry.
We've thrown you off
Oh, you most certainly
All
have.
different
Oh,
seats.
All different tonight, I guess.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this project? I'm seeing none.
Move to accept, move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 600. Nix, please.
Motion to accept with a negative determination of number 2.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Passed. Before you do any work, see Mr. Bichette for your paperwork on you. Okay, thank you.
Please make sure that you sign it.
He'll have the order of conditions and whatnot?
He will have everything that you need.
Okay.
And I'm sending this around. Please sign
I'll
on
take
your
those.
name.
Need those?
Sorry?
I wanted to get the green cards to put in the
The
file.
green cards?
Yep, your butter list receipt.
Thank you.
So please sign next to your name
Yes, I know. I did it last week, I know.
and return the plans, please.
Wants to.
Plans, please.
Up the plans from,
And Jessica, I forgot to ask you if you had any questions.
No
I will get this, I really will. Okay.
Oh, we all have a
We're
storm.
just all messed up tonight, it's all right.
Okay.
We all set?
You're all set, thank you.
Thank you.
You're released, thank you.
Yes, you,
You're released.
so,
left is what I need to.
Thank you. This is 434 Main Street.
thank you.
Somebody didn't sign my name?
Spot left. I hope you don't mess that one up. And she doesn't sign it, so.
Nope.
should be good.
Doesn't sign yet.
We will not move forward until all the paperwork is back and collected in the folder. In the very back. There. Now, ready for the next Nazi Ikalazi.
Thank you. Pursuant of the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. Request for determination of applicability for Nazi Bialakalasi. DAF Engineering, 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to construct 9 residential townhouses with associated parking, access driveway, utilities, and stormwater management system located on Assessor's Map 61, Lot 1057434, Main Street, Wareham, Mass.
And who's here to represent this project?
Madam Chairman, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you. Passing out the plans. Oops, no, I take that back. There's no plans in there. Switch, nope.
You don't need that. pass one down to
Michelle will read the field notes from Mr. Bichette.
A site inspection was made at 434 Main Street. The project involves the construction of residential townhomes with associated parking areas, access drives, utilities, and stormwater management structures. This request is being made to satisfy a requirement of the site plan review process. The project site is not within the jurisdiction of the state or local wetland laws and therefore not subject to review or approval by the Conservation Commission. Recommended issuance with a negative determination of number 1 and number 6.
Thank you. Bob, anything to add?
Just that the plan that you have in front of you is a straight-up existing conditions plan. Mr. Pachette's report is exactly right. It's the requirement under site plan review, whether it's the ZBA or the planning board, to make a filing and get either a negative determination or an order of conditions from this commission. So there's no flood zones, there's no buffer zone to any resource areas.
Okay, I will ask for questions and comments. Questions from, we'll start with Nicole,
No questions. Thank
Carol,
you.
No questions.
Denise.
Mr. Rogers, could you just state your name and where you're from? We have a new person doing our minutes.
I'm sure it's Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering.
Thank you.
Michael.
No questions?
Kwame.
No questions.
Jessica. No questions. Sandy. I have none. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on this project? I'm seeing none.
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600.
Motion to approve the project with a negative determination, number 1 and number 6?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. You have it. You're
Thank you.
outside of our jurisdiction, so you won't hear from us.
Not many of those in town, is there?
We're a wet place.
There's another one on the plans
Looks too
tonight.
happy about that.
Let us collect our paperwork.
They're going to sign it down that way.
Sign my name, good.
Just to confuse everybody.
This down to you.
Denise?
Oh, I'm
Coming.
sorry. I didn't see it.
While we're waiting, somebody representing the Zero Route 25, can you come on up and sit up while we're getting our paperwork? Even not, this is another one outside of the wetlands. Here's that.
No. Give me those back.
That's a long.
Wrong ones. 434 Main Street, that's Main Street. Let's mess up Dave's files yet.
Okay, so we'll,
This is 035.
okay. Get that filed. You can read the hearing, please.
Okay, this is a notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40. In the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaws Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass, on Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. On the request for determination of applicability for Lindsay Kester, VHB 101 Walnut Street, P.O. Box 9151, Watertown, Mass. 02471, to construct a ground-mounted photovoltaic solar array located on the Assessor's Map 115, Lot 1000, Route 25, Wareham, Mass.
And who's here to represent the project?
Christopher Wagner, VHB.
Okay. Denise, it's your turn.
Okay, Christopher Wagner with who?
VHB.
VHB. Okay. A site inspection was made at 0 Route 25. The project involves the construction of a commercial solar array. This request is being made to satisfy a requirement of the site plan review process. The proposed project is not within the jurisdiction of the state or local wetland laws, and therefore not subject to review and approval by the Conservation Commission. Recommended issuance of a negative determination 4 and 6.
4 and 6.
Correct.
Okay. Christopher, any comment on it?
Just to add that this is the same project as I'm sure you remember from the previous notice of intent, and just noting that this is the same project. The envelope is not changed from that previous plan, and the plans that you have before you from the submission, the project is the same, and all work has been pulled outside of all jurisdictional areas and the buffer zone.
You just didn't want to talk to us ever again. I totally understand. Questions on the board? I'll start with Nicole.
No questions, thank you.
Carol.
No questions.
Denise.
No questions.
Michael.
No questions.
Kwame.
No questions. Thank you.
Jessica.
No questions.
Sandy, I have none. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on this particular solar field project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Barry Cosgrove, West Wareham, and thank you all for your service to our town. You may recall that this particular project filed an NOI. They produced a plan, and the plan demonstrated one thing, and that is there was unpermitted work in the wetland. So they drummed up a second plan, and that plan showed, yet again, unpermitted work in the wetland. And that resulted in the Conservation Commissioner advising that, quote, there was unpermitted work done in the buffer zone to wetlands at the site. The Commission will be addressing this matter with the property owner in the near future. Let's call it strike 3. So unless the Commission has completed this inquiry already, what sense does it make to make a determination on the accuracy of the border unless you know whether or not the improper removal and filling actually impacted the wetland boundary? Additionally, this is the third plan you've seen. It might make sense to have an independent party provide a plan here, as opposed to yet another plan by an agency, or excuse me, by a consultant that has a pecuniary interest in the project. I recommend, respectfully, that you would allow the enforcement work to continue, chips will fall with an A, so that you can be sure that this plan, number one, is correct, the boundaries, and number two, whether or not the improper alleged action interfered with or confused what in fact the boundary is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does Mr. Pachette's note says what agency, whether it's planning or zoning? Who gets this next?
It says site plan review process. That's all it says.
The project is in site plan review now and also before the ZBA.
Okay, so they can address those
Correct.
issues? Because we're only looking at whether, we're only here to determine whether or not the project is within wetlands, and that's all we're here for. Thank you, Mr. Cosgrove, for your comments, but I believe you'll find zoning and planning the more appropriate committees, commissions, boards to deal with it. Questions? I'll go down. Nicole?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions.
Denise?
No questions.
Michael?
None, thank you.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Jessica? I have none. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this project? If not,
I move we close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, I just want to vote no on this one. Thank you.
Okay, so I have 5 ayes, 5 opposed, 1 abstained, 0. So it is 5-1-0 to close the hearing. Okay, you wanted to keep it open?
No, you guys can do what you want. I'm
You
just
did-
not going
okay.
to sign off on this one.
Okay, so that was just to close the hearing.
Oh,
Okay, so now we're going to make a motion on the plan, a -4 and a -6.
Six.
So someone makes the motion?
I move that we accept the project with a negative determination number 4 and number 6.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
it'll be the same thing.
0. So 5-1-0 to approve the project. Go forth to who you speak to next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you sign it,
No, I'm not signing it.
you should put down that you voted negative.
Oh, so,
No, just, he doesn't sign, no, he doesn't
can I just put like an...
Are you
can I
sure?
just
Don't
put on-
sign it.
Okay, that's fine.
That-
What's the next hearing?
It passed.
Okay.
The minutes will show it. We don't need it on that document.
And this is going to be
So we'll
Fisherman's
just
Cove Road.
pull our paperwork in. So I gather the people from Eversource is coming up and getting ready for us to come up.
That's correct. See if that thing's on.
Yep, that's the next one.
And get everything back.
Yes?
I think it might be this one. Is there a way to mute it and check?
Something's vibrating.
Does anyone know how to turn on the projector?
There's no button on the back?
Not on the top, but I hope so. Is there anyone from IT here?
Probably not.
Okay.
Do you have a laptop? I know how to do that.
I do,
Carol?
Did you connect it to the
I think so, I grabbed the,
signature.
So here's the power, and then you just need to, sorry, the screen right there. So it usually takes a minute to warm, typically to get
Yeah.
warm up, and then you need to get the source screen to get the input on your computer.
okay.
So we're going to try to get that screen. If someone in the back can push the off button under the black tape. Let's see if they come, okay, you can read to the hearing, please.
Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. Notice of intent for Don Beat.
You may have the wrong one. Eversource Energy?
5 Doty
Some
Street.
bad resource, sorry.
5 Doty Street.
Oh, man.
You can start off with just, you've already read the hearing part, so start off with today's date and Eversource Energy.
5 Doty.
So we're having Doty Street tonight, yeah. All right. So do you have it?
Yeah, I have it here somewhere.
Is this HDMI plugged in? I see one that's unplugged on the floor. Yeah, no
Okay,
problem.
so this is a notice of intent for Eversource Energy, Peter DeFrisco, VHB 101 Walnut Street, P.O. Box 9151, Watertown, Mass. 02471, to construct a gravel vehicle storage lot and infiltration basin located on Assessors Map 103, Lot 10275, Doty Street, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you.
Denise.
And who is here representing that project?
Good evening. My name's Peter DeFusco. I'm an environmental specialist from Eversource. I'm the applicant for the project, and we have our representative here with us tonight.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Sure. DE, capital F, USCO.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you could introduce yourself for the record, please.
My name's Eric Olson with VHP. There we go.
Thank you. Schultz will read Mr. Bichette's field notes on the project, and then we will ask you if you have any comments.
This is 16 Fisherman Cove Road. I don't know what that is. A site inspection was made at 5 Doty Street. The project involves a construction of a gravel vehicle storage lot and an infiltration basin. The proposed infiltration basin is the work that is in the buffer zone to the bordering vegetative wetlands. A 45 by 50 foot by 120 foot infiltration is proposed, approximately 72 feet from the edge of the wetland. The wetland flags were checked, and there are no changes made from the proposed gravel vehicle storage lot. Grades will be changed according to the site plan to direct water into the infiltration basin. The infiltration basin will be stabilized with a seed mix once completed. An erosion control barrier will be installed between the work and the resource area. A DEP file number has been received. The recommended that the issuance of the order of conditions with the standard conditions for the project.
Thank you. Peter, your turn.
Good evening.
Proposed infiltration system.
Okay.
All right, so we have a notice of intent here tonight for number 5 Doty Street. As you just read, we're proposing a new gravel parking lot in what's currently a wooded lot. We'll be also installing a stormwater system with that, and it just so happens as the stormwater portion of the project is what falls within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. We were able to keep this stormwater feature out of the 50-foot no disturb. And then if we can do the next slide, please. And we'll just turn your attention over to the screen. This is just for location purposes. In the screen, you can see the current location of Eversource property, where we have some electrical infrastructure and a training facility. As described previously, we have a proposed gravel parking lot going in with an infiltration basin, stormwater feature. And the purpose of the lot is for additional vehicles. It's also for students to park in. As I said, it's a training facility there. Let's see, no proposed impacts to the wetland resource. Yeah. Next one, please. Try and expedite this and not say things 3 or 4 times. We have. Sure, yeah.
This is the existing conditions.
They won't hear you on the mic, so if you can point and you can,
Yeah. So basically.
So Peter,
this is
tell
the
him what you're
existing
pointing.
lot, and
So
this is where the work is proposed. This is a substation. There's a couple of facility buildings here.
Hey, Eric.
And the work is up in this western corner there.
okay.
Okay, so what he just said.
So you're in the northwest corner of the lot.
We're more so,
On the west, it's
Yeah.
directly west.
Okay,
we're not going far north. North is where the wetland is. So the wetland's to the north.
so the
There's a-
western corner next to someone's property.
Yes, is a abutting residential property immediately to the west.
And the next couple of slides will show the wetlands a little bit more clearly.
Yeah, I think this is easier to identify. So this is easier to reference. So what you're looking at here in the bottom of the page is existing Eversource-owned property. Then we move up to the square that's currently wooded, if you can point to that, Eric, where the gravel parking lot's going to go, and then where the stormwater feature is proposed. And does this figure have the 100-foot buffer zone on it?
There's the wetland boundary right there, and those are the flags. That's the 50-foot no activity zone. This is the 100-foot buffer, and as you'll see, the stormwater infiltration basin clips a little bit.
Okay.
This is the erosion sediment control plan.
Sorry.
So actually, yeah, go back up. There you go.
One more, or this one right here?
Yeah, this one here. This is the erosion and sediment control plan. There will be a gravel entrance coming from the inside the facility here, not directly from the roadway. There'll be erosion controls, as stated, between the work and the resource area up here. Again, this is the gravel parking lot. That's the installation of the stormwater system. And then if you want to go to the next slide. This shows the mitigation plantings that will be installed. You know, there is tree clearing here, and then as part of the mitigation, there will be a visual screen, a natural screen installed across here. There'll be trees, bushes, and grass installed between the neighbors over here and along the roadway. And so as far as mitigation, minimization and mitigation, as stated before, this was designed to stay outside of the wetland resource areas and the 50-foot no activity zone. As far as best management practices, non-structural, there'll be temporary and permanent seeding, pavement sweeping as needed, and dust control as needed. For structural, we'll have erosion and sediment controls installed along the borders between the wetland resource areas and the project. Stabilized construction entrance, catch basin inlet protection. There'll also be maintenance of the erosion and sediment controls as needed. And as mentioned on the site walkthrough, there will be, even though there's not a SWIP required for this, there will be weekly environmental inspections and reporting to Eversource. That's just how they do business. So there will be, you know, weekly inspections by an environmental monitor to make sure that everything's in good shape and there's nothing happening about that. As far as stormwater management, as stated, we're installing an infiltration basin that will accept all the increased flow coming off of this new gravel parking lot, and it does comply with the stormwater handbook standards. And as I mentioned, there will be mitigation plantings to install the natural screen between the parking area and the road and the adjacent neighbor, which includes native trees, shrubs, and grasses, which was on the plan. It's up there on the top right, which is included in the filing. And then there's also a long-term operations and maintenance plan that will be enacted by Eversource. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
We will ask. Nicole?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
Talk to me about your native plantings.
Certainly. I can start by telling you that originally when this project was run by the environmental department of this company, that these plantings were proposed as natives. However, they were a hybrid or something that's kind of chosen for its, whether it's a growth rate or its bloom color. We decided to take those back to true natives and nothing to be hybridized or cross-pollinated to be showy. And that's shown to be a benefit to the organisms in the environment, that the energy that's used to make these colors or growth rates sometimes takes away from the natural nectar. So that was one of the things that we kind of capitalized on and made sure that we wanted true natives. So we're using those. And then the seed mix that we're using is a regionally specific seed mix that was designed by Matt Pinella. He's the conservation agent in Kingston. He worked with a company, New England Wetland Plants, and they came up with a regionally specific seed mix, and we'll be implementing that on this project as well.
Line of sight from the neighboring property.
Can you zoom out a little bit? So we plan on trying to leave a little bit of what's existing. It kind of shows the cleared area, and it's a way you can, yeah, thanks, Eric.
So I believe the neighbors right up over here.
Right.
These are the plantings.
Yep. So Eric's pointing to the neighbors. He's showing the trees and a lot of the planting that's going there. And we're not removing all of the trees to the property line.
This right here, that looks like there's some trees right in there.
Exactly, yes.
So the neighbor will not have visibility.
It'll be screened by existing vegetation and proposed vegetation.
Okay, and everything is being graded away from his property, correct?
Correct. There's not much change to the grade. We tried to minimize that as much as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Michael,
Okay. No questions, thank you.
Kwame,
Yeah, so what are you using for erosion control?
Is it going to be wattle for this one?
It depends on the contractor, but it's usually wattles at this point. I think they're very effective. Yeah, I think more effective than silt fence and hay bales. So it would most likely be straw wattles.
our standard order of conditions asks for hay bales and, our standard order of conditions ask for hay bales and silk fence.
And silt fence, okay. Then that's
I
what
believe
we'll
that is our standard order of condition.
And
If it's in there, then that's what we'll use.
Now, what's
this might be just,
planned?
if I can interrupt you before we
Yeah.
go on, and it could very well be straw bales, but we have our own internal best management practice. We actually prohibit hay bales because it may contain invasive seed or
Okay.
sometimes ag weeds, so we use straw bales.
Is to use what size wattles?
We can use bales, but it would just be straw bales.
Straw, not hay.
So it's just some of the language.
Hay.
Yes.
Well, do you want a 12-inch wattle or do you want a hay bale?
It's a waddle.
Well, that's that round thing that,
Yeah, it looks like a big tube.
Okay.
you know,
And specifically, the mulch wattles work better than the hay ones. They make great contact with the ground.
Is there one called out in the
So-
plan? I don't remember seeing one.
I'm not opposed to it.
I'm not opposed to a wattle either, but we'll need a standard order of conditions that changes it to a, what's in the plan for erosion control? I don't have every page.
No.
I just looked at that so many times, I can't believe it's escaped my memory. Sure. I feel like it might, usually it's wattle, I feel like I saw silt fence.
Temporary rolled erosion control product.
What page?
You get in the stormwater stuff. It's gonna
It's C-250.
C-250?
And it's listed as temporary rolled erosion control product.
So is it general?
The silt fence goes all the way around here.
Yeah, I don't think it says specifically in here. So, it just says erosion control devices.
So your company's recommending what?
We're trying to scroll in to see.
If I take a look at 250, it says something about a silk fence, so that was confusing. They said we were going to get a storm. Certainly sounds like it.
Number 17 says something about silt fence.
Does here too.
We wouldn't object to silt fence or wattle. We would do whatever the commission.
Pretty standard. If you guys have a specific requirement, we'll adhere to it.
We could make modification.
So we're, instead of hay bales,
We're going to use wattles.
straw bales, 12-inch wattles.
Sounds good. We can do 12.
12 or 10, which tends to be it, I'm trying to think, which,
I think it's,
I want something bigger than 8.
okay, go with, would you like 12?
Would prefer 12, it's a little heavier,
Let's go with your preference.
12.
You got it.
Do they use silt fencing with that or just
Silk fencing with
with
it,
it?
yes. Because you don't want the critters walking over the wattle. The silt fence is to keep those from crawling on the ground
Okay.
up over the wattle. So silt fence and wattle.
Okay, silt fence reinforced with wattle?
Yes, please. 12-inch. All right. We've asked questions around.
I have a question.
No, we haven't. Michael
gotten
was,
all the way around.
Michael,
I didn't have any questions, then Kwame
Kwame.
spoke, now it's Jessica's turn.
Jessica.
On this plan here, the one in color,
You have to come close to
Microphone.
the mic.
On the plan that you have in color, you have sort of a lighter area in the middle. Is that a cleared area already?
That's an existing stormwater feature.
Is there a way to achieve your goals without clear cutting this wooded area?
So that would bring, with what's available on site, that would bring a parking lot. It would swap. Then you'd have the parking lot closer to the wetland and the stormwater feature closer to the road.
I'm just wondering if you've explored it at all, if there's a way to not clear cut an entire wooded lot.
Yeah, I understand. I think if, not with the stormwater requirement, we have to have enough room for both.
Because the existing stormwater basin is designed to handle the runoff from the existing land. And therefore, could it accommodate the increased flow coming off of the new parking lot?
That would definitely be an engineer question, but we would not be in front of this board right now if it was a yes, because
That's what it was designed for, and it's in compliance with the stormwater handbook.
It is designed to handle what takes it now. And therefore, the new basin is designed to take the runoff from the new parking area.
correct.
And honestly,
And infiltrate it, specifically to infiltrate it, so, to keep the recharge the same.
it is not a, I don't know how to say this one. The woods that are there are not what you call top-grade woods. They really are fallen down, bittersweet, entrenched, and not very healthy trees, I guess that's one way to put it. Anybody else who went to the sites have a comment on what they thought of the woods?
It was deteriorated and
Yeah.
poor.
Yeah, that's accurate.
There was nothing what you call worth saving? Is a good way to put it. It
Yeah.
was pretty. Okay, that's the questions. Is there anybody in the audience like to comment on this project? Yes, please come forward and identify yourself, please. Linda.
Hi, Linda Sharp, from Onset, Precinct 2, I think. So a lot of times when people plant these so-called pollinator mixes and things like that, they plant them and then they mow them down in the winter. And the creatures that depend on those plants depend upon them year-round. So I've noticed, for example, at the dump,
Dump.
they've,
Yep.
so,
I
a little
get mowed.
sign saying, or an agreement with the landscape company that says, do not mow, or something like that, some kind of, really taking advantage of it if you are going to plant a quote-unquote
The
mix.
plantings were around the retention basin, right?
And along the roadway, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in this case, these wouldn't be mowed. This is for visual aesthetics and a buffer, and between the parking lot and the road and the parking lot and the neighbor, and it's there to be,
They
to
went in-
stay and not be mowed.
Okay, but I think she was talking more about the plants that would be in the retention, around the retention basin as opposed to for screening, correct?
Any
Anything.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, so the shrubs and trees in, was it a sedge? If you just double check there.
Yeah.
Those
Can't
would not,
read what's in that corner. It's a little too small for me to read what you're planning for.
those for certain would not be mowed
Okay.
because it would defeat the purpose of planting them.
Do you have any perennials on that list? It's too far away for me to read. Because what Linda is saying, we need the seeds to be kept winterized for those that continue to use this planting year-round.
So the stormwater basin will have a long-term management, and that will detail the regulations we have to follow in order of maintaining it. However, it's not going to be something that we mow each and every year.
So, Linda, you can see the only thing there with a perennial would be the grasses. The shrubs tend not to be cut, neither do the trees.
Okay. Maybe they could throw a few coneflowers in there. And then just one other point about addressing kind of Jessica's point. It seems weird to have to cut down trees that just because they haven't been maintained and cleared of invasives up to a certain point, that now they look like crap. Maybe they wouldn't look like crap if they had been maintained, and then it would be, quote unquote, worth saving those trees and putting the parking lot in a different area so that you could at least have both things satisfied. You could protect the wetlands and, you know, save a few trees too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with a comment?
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. The hearing is closed.
What's the recommendation?
Standard order of conditions with using a 12-inch wattle as opposed to a hay bale.
I move,
And they were talking about a weekly inspection of
Well,
our,
that's part of the,
part of the plan.
it's part of the
Sure
plan.
that it's in there.
Yes.
Okay, I move we accept this project. Is it negative determination?
Nope.
Standard order of conditions with 12-inch wattles as opposed to straw bales and silt fencing.
That's the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. Please no work until you get the paperwork from Mr. Bichette. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, did I hand out anything?
We're now going to collect our paperwork.
We get a green card?
I gave you the copies.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Somewhere.
They're in there someplace, I think.
Bunch of stuff in here.
There they are. Nope, that's correct. That's the next one, I think. We'll just get our paperwork in order. That's for, anybody here representing 6 Fishman Cove Road? Can you come forward and wait for us to get our paperwork done? Sure. Yes,
That's this one.
yes.
It's in here. All right.
Signature. Okay, Kwame, you can read to the next project, please.
Okay, notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. Notice of intent for Don Beep, JC Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to upgrade the septic system located in Assessor's Map 3, Lot 1010B1, 16 Fisherman's Cove Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you, and who's representing this project?
For the record, my name is Mike Pimentel with JC Engineering.
And someone in the back, can you turn that light on underneath the black tape? Thank you.
Your last name again, I'm sorry.
Pimentel,
P-I?
E-M-E-N-T-E-L.
Turn your microphone on.
Is it not on? All right, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So, yeah, Mike Pimental with JC Engineering.
Thank you. And Denise will read to the project.
A site inspection was made at 16 Fisherman Cove Road. The project involves upgrading a septic system in the buffer zone to a coastal bank, coastal beach, coastal dune, and within coastal flood zone. An existing system is to be replaced with a new Title V nitrogen-reducing septic system approximately 50 feet from the edge of the coastal bank and coastal dune within flood zone VE elevation 117. The new system will be constructed adjacent to the paved driveway in existing lawn area. The site is relatively flat, and there's no grade changes proposed. Erosion control will be placed between the work and the wetland resource area, as shown on the plan. We do not have a DEP number. Recommend for a continuance until we receive the DEP file number.
And you can pass out the plans, please. Did you get a DEP number?
Unfortunately, no. I tried calling them this afternoon, and they're not ready to issue one.
Okay, so we will continue, but we'll continue the hearing and ask the questions, so we'll pass out the plans.
And I just want to make one correction. It's, the velocity zone was just 17.
I was thinking of a 117, didn't quite see it
No,
right.
it says VE elevation 1, and then it says 17 next to it.
Elevation, okay.
Yeah.
VE 17.
VE 17,
Okay,
yeah.
So get rid of the E1.
So it's,
Oh, the E1 is probably just EL, elevation 17.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
okay. We've read through the project now. Mike, any comments on it?
My comments?
Yes, your
No, I think it's a
Add-
simple, straightforward
Uh,
upgrade. It would be providing IA technology, a microfast system. It's going to be a much better improvement to the environment with the microfast system. We're putting the leaching system farther away from the coastal bank, so I think it's a win-win-win for the environment here.
Will you be here for the certification of compliances that are coming up?
Yes.
Good, because, okay,
We'll need to talk?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the plan to do a upgrade to the septic system. Questions, Nicole?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions.
Denise?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions?
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Jessica? I have none on the septic system. Anybody in the audience would like to comment on this project? Seeing none?
We close the hearing?
No.
Oh, no,
Continue.
we don't have a DEP
We
number.
have a DEP number.
That's it, no DEP.
So we
Thank
have to
you.
Continue.
Motion to continue
We have a
till,
motion
there
to
we go.
continue until
motion to
the
continue till October
19th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we are continued until the 19th.
Can I ask a question? As far as the DEP file number, once that gets issued and Dave gets a copy of it, would you need my attendance at the next meeting to get the official approval, or can that be done?
It's your choice.
Okay.
We've asked our questions. I think we're just waiting for our paperwork to catch up from the state in, don't think so.
Okay.
But you can talk to Dave when he's,
Comes back next week?
yeah,
Okay.
when you get the DEP number, come back and talk to, make a phone call to Dave and confirm.
Okay, very good.
Okay, we are going to collect the paperwork.
Okay, no signatures on this one.
Thank you.
Yep, no signatures needed. We get all our paperwork collected, all the plans back. Okay, the next hearing, please.
A notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. Notice of intent for Joseph Longo, J.C. Engineering, 2 154 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to construct a single-family dwelling with attached decks, detached garage, driveway, site grading, and utilities located in Assessor's Map 54, lots 1 and 2, 136 and 140 Cremusic Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. And who's representing this project?
Good evening, Brian Wallace with JC Engineering.
Thank you. And we did get updated plans. Are those the updated plans?
Should be the 29th on those.
So the updated plans must be in here someplace. We will go looking for them. Denise will read to the project first, and we'll see if we can find the updated plans.
There's 2 pages in this one. A site inspection was made at 136 and 140 Cremusic Road. The project involves the construction of a single-family dwelling and a detached garage in the buffer zone to the bordering vegetation wetland, salt marsh, and within a coastal flood zone. A 28 by 60-foot dwelling elevated on stilts is proposed approximately 45 feet from the edge of the BVW and within the coastal flood zone VE elevation 18. The proposed limit of work is 30 feet from the edge of the wetland. The dwelling would be serviced by town water and sewer. The proposed 24 by 24-foot detached garage would also be 45 feet from the edge of the wetland. The wetland line was reviewed, and there were 2 changes made to the wetland line. A revised plan should be submitted showing the changes made. There are some grade changes proposed around the dwelling. Recommend minimizing grade changes as the dwelling is in the velocity flood zone. Hay bales and silt fence are proposed between the work and the resource area as shown on the plan. We do not have a DEP file number, so we would recommend a continuance until we hear and for the hearing to get the DEP number. I don't see plans.
No, I don't see the new plans. Well, he wouldn't have them since they came in after he left.
Oh, all right.
But he did send them to us electronically.
Yes.
And there is a DEP number 2763. No, it came Thursday, well, Dave was still in, came Friday when Dave and I were in the office.
763.
He said if we had the number and that you would arrange to have a copy of it delivered to the office, that would be sufficient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can
Forward on it.
certainly do that. I think Dave was included on that email that we received as well.
Okay, so he has, it just didn't make the agenda.
Right, yep.
Okay. So we have a new plan. It was sent out electronically to us. I don't know if any of you printed it, but we do not have hard copy.
I do have I printed this, I'm not sure if it's the
Yep.
old one or the new one, though.
What's the date on the bottom, lower right?
Let me see what the date is. Oh, it's probably the old one, it says September 21st.
Doesn't have the 29th on it?
No.
Okay.
I've got a plan on my phone.
You have one on the 29th on the phone?
Yes.
Yeah. All it is
Copies?
I have one copy. I was hoping you guys would have the ones we dropped off, but I can hand you this and you can pass it around.
First, that's the latest one.
you can send it down there.
Get it on my phone. Yeah, send it that way.
Some of you might have it on your phone.
It'll be under Dave, under,
I have a smaller copy as well, so.
Share that with, say, can you please share that, the large one? Jessica, can you share with them?
I've got one.
All right, Mike and I can share that.
So, Brian, can you tell us, Dave changed the wetland lines, but it didn't really change the setback to the house, did it?
That is correct. We moved just 2 wetland flags. Bear with me, I'm looking at the older plan. So at wetland flag 19, we essentially eliminated that one. So that line would have shifted from just basically a straight shot from 18 to 20.
20, yep.
And then we moved, I believe it was wetland flag 10, about 9 feet closer to the road. But yeah,
Did not change, neither of them changed the wetlands for the 30-foot no-work zone
that is correct. Yep.
or the coastal bank.
Yep, the coastal bank there by 19 was kind of still the limiting setback there, so did not change it.
Go to the other one.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Can you see a where there's no activity zone is?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, right here.
It doesn't have the 29. Yep.
All he cared about was the 30.
Yeah, there's the 30.
There's the 30 on the side of the house.
Okay, so he labels it as 30 wetlands. Okay, gotcha. Okay, thanks.
And so along the 30 offset, you plan to keep the trees, you're not going to cut any further into the forest along the east side?
That, yeah, so around sort of the envelope around the house, we're close to that 30-foot no-touch buffer zone
You really
where it makes
did
sense.
come awful close to that 30-foot no-work zone.
But we certainly give room for, the tree clearing, and then additionally the hay bale line to be set. And then we try to give ourselves a little bit more room to where the house foundation would be located and the post for the deck. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Questions? Nicole?
No questions.
Carol?
No questions.
Denise?
I went out today to look at the property, but I couldn't find it.
I found the stake in the ground.
Stake.
I found the
walked on
stake,
somebody-
but there was no path to get us inside to look at the site to be cleared. Of course, it was all wooded, so it's awful hard to see where you plan to put it.
it's a tough lot to walk
I
through,
do
but,
thank you for putting that stake to indicate.
yep.
Was it staked in the woods?
It was, yeah. We left a stake by the road, so you could sort of tell where it was, and
I tried.
yeah.
You guys kept telling me I'd arrived, and I wasn't
Yeah.
quite sure where I was.
Sandy, go ahead.
Yep, Denise, anything else?
No.
Nope. Michael?
No, actually, just to bring in here, quickly jump in here. So Denise, yeah, there's actually a 136, 140 stake right there, as the gentleman pointed out. He already, and my questions are going to answer basically where the 30-foot no activity zone lines, it's actually the wetland offset. Also, the plan says that there's foundation of a prior property in there. Where approximately is that? Is that, yeah, I'll say that. Where approximately is that? I'm sorry?
Pull your microphone.
Bob, I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and repeat that. The plan says that there is a foundation of a prior property on this property, on this land. Where approximately is that?
I'm not sure what you're
It's the
referring.
it's the front page of your notice of intent, existing site. The lot is vacant with only existing driveways and abandoned foundation
Oh.
remains present.
That must have been something that got carried through. There is no, there is no foundation on the site right now. Sorry about that. That was a mistake in the report there.
Cut in a paste that wasn't done correctly, okay. So
Yeah.
I saw the same thing, and I'm saying, yeah.
Exactly, because if there's a lot of trees in there, then where would the old house exist?
Yeah,
That's what I was wondering.
There is no existing foundation, no driveway in that lot. It's fully vacant. So
All right, so maybe we want to cut, exactly, maybe we want to remove that or something.
yeah, we can certainly remove
All
that.
right, thank
Yeah.
you. I'm all set, Denise.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Sandy, rather. Go ahead.
Kwame?
I think on the plan, you said something of proposed stone shell driveway.
Yep.
Is that, proposed meaning, is that going to happen, or is that something that you're asking, like, are we gonna be okay with proposed stone driveway?
Well, yeah, that'd certainly be part of the project. We left it as stone or shell just to have that option. In any case, it wouldn't be paved, so that's sort of what we're referring to here, to have that option open, yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Jessica?
No questions.
Other than keeping the forest as a delineation for our 30-foot no-work zone, was there anything being planned to tell them, hey, folks, you can't go beyond the tree line? I mean, was there any intent to identify this no-work zone? Because I can imagine the first thing they're going to do is cut down a path to go to the water.
Yeah, we didn't propose any definitive, permanent structure to kind of indicate that. But if that's something the commission would like to see, we're certainly open to that.
I think we allow for a path to the water, but no
Yeah.
constructed path, no boardwalk, no fiber-filled, no whatever. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this project? I'm seeing none. We've asked our questions, we got our answers.
We have a DEP.
We have a DEP number, and Brian will make sure that Dave gets a copy if he hasn't already received it in his email.
It's going to correct the paperwork that was sent.
Yeah, I think we need a front page of the notice of intent to correct that paragraph under existing site to clean it up, but I'm not going to...
Yep, we'll certainly do that.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Can I have a motion? I can't
Oh.
make it.
I thought you said I have one.
No, can I have a motion?
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. The hearing is closed.
What's the motion for this one?
This is a motion.
Standard order of conditions.
Standard order of conditions, but that the paperwork needs to be corrected on the NOI. That the,
I can't hear a word you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's, yep.
Okay. Move to accept the project with a standard order of conditions. They need to correct the paperwork on the NOI and to make clear that there is not to be a path larger than a path going to the water.
That is correct.
Yep. If that's a
Second.
condition, the commission would like to
That is
implement,
the-
sure.
Yep.
Okay.
So that is the condition. I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We are good.
Great, thank you so much.
Okey-dokey, we're just going to put our paperwork together.
Can I put this in the file?
While we're doing this, does someone representing the Michael Homes like to come up and be seated while we put our paperwork together?
It's the one that's assigned.
Yep, just waiting for them.
The next one. Charlotte Furnace Road.
Okay, Kwame, the one on Michael Homes, please.
Yes, ma'am. Notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. On a notice of intent for Michael Holmes, Alpec Engineering, 165 East Grove Street, Middleborough, Mass. 02346, to construct a garage and extend a driveway located on Assessors Map 105A, Lot 742, Charlotte Furnace Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you, and who's here representing this project?
Gregory Drake from Outback Engineering.
We're looking at the field notes.
It's a field. That's the proposed. Right.
Michael, is there anything in that box right there, that white box? That look like the old one? That looks like a bylaw. Oh. This is unusual. I'm sure they were ready for the last meeting.
This is
Do we have your green
their
cards?
information. They just
I just gave you them.
gave me the green cards.
Thank you.
You also don't see field notes in the next one.
Do we have a form to sign?
There's a form to sign.
No, field notes.
Field notes.
Which means it's gotta be around someplace, because it would have been attached to the notice of, complete notice of intent. So we have the notice of intent, but no field. Okay.
Right.
I guess, Gregory, we're going to ask you if you could summarize the project for us by, I believe, the front page of your notice of intent.
Sure.
If you could read, the applicant is proposing that, do you have that?
Yep,
Okay, why don't you read that for us?
okay. The applicant's proposing to add a 22 by 22 garage addition to their backyard at 42 Charlotte Furnace Road in Wareham, Mass. The garage and associated driveway extension, the existing driveway will be extended, are located within the 100-foot buffer of a bordering vegetated wetland that is off-site to the west of the property. All of the proposed work is outside the designated 30-foot no-activity zone. We have, a rain garden has been proposed to capture a portion of the stormwater runoff from the extension of the drive and infiltrate it into the ground before it would go down the grass slope to the wetland below. Silt fencing and hay bales will be installed for erosion control, would also act as the limit of work. Disturbed areas will be, are proposed to be stabilized with loam and seed.
All right, that's the definition, that is the description of the particular project. I wish we had Dave's notes, we just can't find them. But we can ask questions. Is there anything you'd like to add to what you just read?
That pretty much
Yep. Well,
covers explains it, so.
I'll ask the questions around. Nicole?
I just have a question about the driveway. So you're extending the driveway, so this shows that it's gonna go all the way down that side of the property?
Yes,
And it's going to be paved?
yes.
That's my only question.
And that's because the septic system is in the back, and the proposed structure needs to be at least 10 feet from the septic system, so ended up that we had to put it in that corner of the lot.
Carol?
No questions at this time.
I'm going to skip Denise, she's still looking.
I'm still looking.
Michael?
Nicole already beat me to it, thank you.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Jessica?
No questions.
You indicate that the proposed rain garden may capture a portion of the stormwater runoff from the driveway. Is there any consideration, you really can't make it much bigger, can you?
No, there's not a lot of area there because it slopes down off. Obviously, the property line's right there, too.
And were you proposing that this driveway slope toward the wetlands as opposed to the neighbor's house? Or back into the owner's property?
It's, it's probably going more towards the wetland, yeah.
Is there some consideration for putting in a dry well for the runoff of the garage?
That's a possibility, I mean.
Yeah, because that will reduce the amount of water coming off onto that driveway and into that, I'm going to call it undersized rain garden. I think that would be, my recommendation is that you put in at least some type of dry well or something to, one or two to accept the runoff from the garage to reduce the amount of water coming in off the driveway.
Or we could do a combination of extending that rain garden and a dry well.
Well, I don't know if you can extend the dry well much.
I mean, I might make that still slope a little steeper, though, so that's...
Yeah, you're awful close to that very back slope.
Yeah.
But my recommendation is there be a dry well created to accept the runoff from the roof. And it would probably be on a side that's not next to the septic system. Think it where you might want to
Right.
fit it? Maybe the back corner?
Yeah, somewhere in...
Yeah, there or the other corner.
Yeah.
Okay, do you... They're not here. Do you want to, here's the question, do you want to continue without Dave's notes?
I don't feel comfortable doing that. Because,
Comments?
just because of the
No.
rate.
Kwame?
I think we should accept this project, and when David does return and he has additional notes, then that would have to be proposed onto it. Is that something that we can do, or?
We close the hearing. There's no more input. We can accept no more input into the particular project if we close the hearing. Michael?
But if we don't have the notes, how could we
Well,
sign?
this is what I'm asking. Do you want to continue waiting for the notes, or you're willing to close the hearing based on what we see on the plan?
Certainly, we could close on what we certainly, correct. Yeah,
So if we
that's
close the hearing without David's
close.
notes, you're fine with that?
correct. That's fine. We close tonight, that's that.
Okay. Kwame, I didn't hear. Do we close or not close the hearing?
We can close the hearing.
Okay. Denise, the answer you said?
I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm
Okay.
gonna stay with the no.
Carol?
I don't feel comfortable closing the hearing.
Nicole?
I am fine with it.
And I am fine with it. So that would be, if we vote on, someone wants to make a motion to close the hearing?
Say we make a motion to close the hearing. What's the determination or the?
We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. Okay, make a
Who
motion
wants
to close the
second
hearing.
that?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
3-2-0 to close the hearing. The hearing is closed. I need a motion on the project.
No, 4-2.
4-2. 4-2. That's right. Sorry.
4-2.
4-2. Someone want to make a motion on the, make a motion on it? We're looking for a motion to accept the project with a standard order of condition plus the addition of a dry well. Someone wants to make that motion?
Make a motion to accept the project with the addition of the dry well.
All right.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
4-2-0. So don't do anything until you reach Mr. Bichette for the paperwork and show him the additional the location of the dry well for the garage.
Okay,
Okay?
all right. Thank you.
You don't sign this one.
You didn't accept it, you don't sign it. We accepted it, we sign it.
The next hearing is for Connor Cormer. I believe they have requested a continuation until October
Jessica's plans also.
19th. And just for Nicole, please.
Yeah, we have to open it, and then we continue it.
Okay, can you read the hearing for 33 Prospect Street?
Yes, notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of the Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. Notice of intent for Connor Comrie, Atlantic Coast Engineering, 88 Front Street, Suite 20, Situate, Mass. 02066, to remove and replace a retaining wall located on Assessor's Map 3, Lot 252, 33 Prospect Street, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. They've asked for a continuation. Can I have a motion to continue until 10/19?
Motion to continue till 10/19?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. We're continued until October 19th. We have a continued hearing for Scott Green at 17 Murphy Street. Is there anybody here representing that project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
No, it's okay.
17 Murphy Street.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attorney Jillian Morton, 184 Main Street.
And Mike Pimental with JC Engineering.
Scott Green, the applicant.
Okay. David sent me his agent notes dated October 4th. And what do you have? 7. So I'm going to put hold. And if you could read the notes that he sent me on October 4th, I will give them to you.
Stand these out. One that way. A site inspection was made at 17 Murphy Street in the Swifts Beach area. The project involves the construction of a single-family dwelling in the buffer zone to a salt marsh, coastal bank, coastal beach, coastal dune within the coastal flood zone, and partially within the estimated habitat of rare and endangered species. 32 by 62-foot dwelling elevated on a concrete pilings is proposed 41 feet from the top of the coastal bank, 48 feet from the coastal dune, approximately 55 feet from the edge of the salt marsh, and within flood zone VE elevation 18 and VE elevation 20. There is an existing foundation on the site from a small cottage that once existed there that is to be removed. That disturbed area is to be replanted with native plantings identified on the plan. The proposed driveway would be pervious material, and infiltration structures are proposed to handle the runoff from the dwelling. The dwelling is proposed to be serviced by town water and sewer. Hay bales and silt fence are proposed to be installed along the 30-foot no activity zone line. This is a fragile location and very large structure proposed for this site. and I question whether the project can be accomplished and still maintain the 30-foot no-activity zone. Comments have been received from Mass NHESP. A DEP file number has been received for the project. DEP commented about concerns for this project being in close proximity to coastal dune. A revised plan was submitted for this project. The project, as proposed, would not allow for the landward migration of the coastal dune and therefore does not meet the performance standards for the coastal dune under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act or the Wetland Bylaw. Recommend that the project be denied for this reason.
Can you one more time read the reasons? The last paragraph?
Right, the project as proposed would not allow for the landward migration of the coastal dune and therefore does not meet the performance standards for coastal dune under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act or the Wetland Bylaw. Recommend that the project be denied for this reason. It's coming under both the Wetland Protection and our bylaw.
Thank you. Which one is there any comments? Would like to start?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that's the first time that we're hearing at least that last portion of what Dave's comments were. We've been working on revising the plan, working with him. So I would ask that there not be a vote tonight and us be able to talk with him about that. I know that the engineer was working with him and did send that initial revised plan. Our last hearing, we were chatting about putting the fence up, how to mitigate that 30-foot buffer, but I mean, that reasoning, I think it warrants us being able to talk to him about what violations, especially in the bylaw here that he's saying. I understand the dune concern, but I would ask at least for continuance so we could chat with him regarding that. This is our first time hearing about it.
Okay. Anything from Scott or Mike? If not, I'll ask the board if there's any questions. Nicole?
No questions. Thank you.
Carol?
No questions at this time.
None at this time.
Michael?
Not at this time.
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
None at this time.
Oh, I'm already sorry.
Jessica.
I'm looking at her and say
I It's okay.
I'm saying, at what point did something get hit by lightning, the fire trucks? Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Jessica, anything?
No questions.
Is there any,
Jessica, you may want to move down closer to the mic.
No questions still.
anybody like to comment on this project? If not, they've asked for a continuance to understand the comments Mr. Bichette made about the migration of the coastal dune.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to continue until the 19th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next hearing is RESI LLC, 42 Robinwood Road. Anybody here representing this project?
Yes, Madam Chairman, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering on behalf of the applicants.
I have a whole new
Appreciation?
appreciation of David.
Paperwork and
Paperwork, oh my word, okay.
Your field notes are for what date?
There is no date on it.
I think that's the old one. He has given me new ones for October 4th. If you could read, make a note that that's the old one, and here are his comments from October 4th.
Holy crow, all right. A site inspection was made at 42 Robinwood Road. The project involves the construction of a pier ramp and float system within land under the ocean, within land containing shellfish within a coastal beach and within coastal flood zone. A 184-foot pier, ramp, and float system with 2 boat lifts is proposed at this location as a common pier for the potential residents of a 7-lot subdivision at this location. The overall length of the structure from the seawall is 184 feet. A buoy was placed in the water to indicate the location of the end of the proposed float. The structure would be 159 feet without from the mean high water line. A boat lift is proposed on either side of the structure, closer towards the shore from where the floats are, but would still have a 3-foot water depth at low tide at this location. The structure would require installing 28 12-foot diameter pilings. These would be driven from a floating barge, which would have to operate at the higher tidal range. The proposed float is 300 square feet. An eelgrass survey was conducted, finding no eelgrass within the project area, but this survey was done over a year ago. I had recommended a verification this season of these findings, which has been done, still showing no eelgrass. The comments were received from Massachusetts DMF, who had several comments on the project. They state that the project lies adjacent to mapped shellfish habitat. They recommended a time of year restriction from May 1st to July 31st for any in-water work on the project to protect sensitive life stages of the horseshoe crab. They also recommend that the floats be at least 30 inches above the substrate and recommend float stops. They comment on floating barge not grounding at low tides or working in waters less than 2 feet. They also recommend limiting the float size. The floats are currently sized in accordance with our bylaw. Comments have been received from the harbor master. Information regarding a number and type of boats to utilize this dock have not been submitted. This is required under the town wetland bylaw. This could be a problem with an association dock because of the larger potential and the number of boats. A DEP file number has been received for the project. I recommend a continuance of the hearing for the boat information or a denial of the project for lack of information.
Comments?
Sure, so at
Probably hadn't heard that one either. October
no, but-
4th, yeah.
No, but that's okay. I spoke with David a couple of times.
They're not new comments.
And,
Yeah.
and so, if the commission so requires, we can provide a generalization of boats that could reasonably be tied up to our 25-foot-long floats. But well, let me just back up one step, right? So at the end of the last public hearing, we needed the new eelgrass study. We, GAF, had agreed to put a note on the plans referencing the float stops, even though we have more than 3 feet or more of water. So we did submit revised plans, which the only change was to specify those float stops. And we needed Brad Holmes and ECR to go out and confirm the absence of eelgrass, which he has done, and you have that report. Also, subsequent to the hearing, in one of my conversations with Mr. Pichette, he requested that we provide construction methodology. And so we did provide a one-page, maybe a little more than one-page construction methodology, which is consistent with your bylaw and the state small docks and piers guidance. And so with respect to the size and the type of boats, so it's number 6 on page 70 of the bylaw. And what it says is, information shall be submitted to the commission detailing the proposed number, type, and style of watercraft to be used at the site. This information shall include the draft of the watercraft, including engine at its maximum weight carrying capacity. And then the last sentence, so there shall be a minimum of 24 inches of water between the lowest draft point of the watercraft to be used at the dock, including engine, and the bottom. and that the draft information shall be calculated based on maximum vessel load from the manufacturer. And so I did just a little quick research on Grady White boats. And this is the type of information we could provide should the commission so require. And so a 23-foot Grady White draws 18.5 inches. The hull is what they list. A 33-foot certain type of Grady White is 24 inches. But the bottom line is, the reason that you want to review the specific information on the boats is solely for the purpose of making sure that there is that minimum 24 inches of water depth where the boats are going to be docked. And, you know, we've done a lot of these. The commission has seen a lot of these. I went back to a couple of orders of conditions. I don't know the specifics. I could find no information on boats in the file, but, you know, as the commission does with many of their orders of conditions, you include special conditions which reiterate what's in your bylaw. And so it's a performance standard. And so in 2 separate orders of conditions going back to 2015, 2016, honestly, I think it's a common sense special condition for any dock or pier. It says, because people can tell you what they're going to buy for a boat, and 2 years later, they're going to buy a different boat, right? Maybe they upsize, maybe they downsize, but special condition number 18 in both of these orders, which is something my clients would readily agree to because they have to, because it's in the bylaw, is that any vessels utilizing the structure shall be required to have at least 24 inches of water between the lowest point of the vessel, including the engine in its down position, and the bottom substrate. Specifications about the vessel to be used at the structure shall be submitted to the conservation officer prior to bringing said vessel to the structure. This shall be a continuing condition. And that is what we would agree to, and that is what makes perfect sense. And it works for the commission to protect the resource area, and it works for, you know, people like my client and other people who propose docks, that if we get an approval from this commission, it's another 10 months to a year of permitting through the Chapter 91 program. There's another whole hearing process. I know you don't, you know, care exactly what the type of boat is. You're not encouraging one thing or another, but you're absolutely, you know, enforcing that condition of 2 feet of water from the bottom of the boat to the bottom of the substrate. We would request that special condition for this project.
Questions, Nicole?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So is the reason you don't have the information on the specific boats is because they didn't purchase the boats yet, I assume? Is that?
Right, we don't, and so, again, so this is a 7-lot subdivision, which was approved by this commission and approved by the planning board, and it's being, the planning board approval is being litigated.
Okay.
We want to move forward with this permitting process because, you know, it's a little, you know, 6 weeks with the commission is fine, but 9, 10 months, a year with Chapter 91 and DEP really pushes things out, so.
So it's just a matter of you haven't got to that stage yet to know exactly what they're going to have, so that's
Right,
really.
yeah,
Okay.
so again, we can conjecture and we can say that there's only a certain size boat that's reasonable for a 25-foot long float or for a 12-by-12 boat lift. We want the pier to be available to all 7 future lot owners. We cannot, with a straight face, say exactly what they're gonna have or want to have for a boat, but we are very encouraged by the fact that the commission has imposed a special condition on other projects, which is a continuing condition, which, were it not for that, the initial submission may be the only information that you would ever get about a vessel at a certain location.
Carol?
Yeah, I have a question. The location of this dock, the lot that it comes off of, is RESI going to be the continuing owner of that property? Or is that going to be jointly held by the 7 abutting properties?
Well, so because we don't have official approval for the subdivision, we are obviously planning for it, but from a legal standpoint, we are, the dock is located on Lot B on map 4. There are 3 current lots there. We're on Lot B, and we're using the land court certificate that goes along with Lot B. And, depending on the timing of the permitting and the resolution of the subdivision, licenses are transferable. We just have to deal with it, but we don't want to wait for a resolution of one to start the other, because, again, the state takes quite a while.
So there's no way of knowing who's going to actually own this property. If this dock is approved now, none of these house lots have been sold yet.
No.
It hasn't even been approved yet.
That's correct.
So right now, there's absolutely no way of knowing who is going to be legally responsible for this dock.
No, that's incorrect. It would be the owner and the applicant. Resi LLC is absolutely 100% responsible for building it the way, assuming it gets approved. And if they, no one can say that they wouldn't sell it, but that new owner, the order of conditions goes with the land and with the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Denise, questions?
I have a couple of comments with this. I think I'm agreeing with the gentleman who spoke at the last meeting that you seem to be putting the cart before the horse with this. There's no association for us to assign conditions to. There's no owner for us to sign conditions to, or to make sure that the maintenance is going to be done. Also, we need to look at a cumulative impact in this area, and the number of docks located in this area open to year-round shell fishing is 7. If you start at Sias, I don't know how to pronounce it, Sias Point, just along the curve there's 7 docks already. Horseshoe crab spawning areas in this area, late spring and early summer. Obviously, we need to continue effort to protect that. The shading from 6 to 7 boats produces an impact on this habitat area. The dock is going to have, I feel, is going to have an adverse effect on this resource area due to the number of docks that are already located in this area and the number of boats that you're intending to use on this dock. And in particular, there's no association that exists now to assign conditions to and make sure that the maintenance and everything is going to be taken care of.
An association is just a different form of owner. This Resi LLC is a huge land development company, but you have an owner, and you have a deed reference to assign this to, and it's no different than anyone else who, for whatever reason,
I just think that the cumulative impact of this dock with 7 boats on it in an area that already has 7 docks in it.
So that's different than the ownership issue. I
And
just want to make it clear.
it's 2 issues that I have with it. That's all I have.
Michael?
At the end of the dock, I'm sorry, let me move up a little bit. At the end of the dock, it looks like it's one of those fork-shaped ends, am I correct?
Sure, there's 2 25-footers and then a 20-foot section, so it's right at the 300-foot
Okay.
allowed by the bylaw.
Now, how many boats can you fit in one of those fork-shaped ends,
So,
approximately?
so I see 1 on each end,
Okay, so that's 2.
and then at the most, 2 smaller ones in the middle. It could just be 1 or 2.
Right.
And then you have the 2 boat lifts.
Okay.
So I see 5 to 6, and that's why when I talk about the 7 lots, would be available to each of the 7 homeowners. and you just don't know who's going to have a boat and who isn't. But, you know, we meet the bylaw in terms of all those important things, the depth of water, the floats, you know, we're avoiding the other resource areas, so, you know.
Now, any thoughts of possibly making the end, like the dock next to it, where it's just a straight end, just to at least reduce the size of it?
So you're saying just to go straight out?
Straight
with
out,
one
correct,
single-
like one of those docks instead.
Yeah, I'd worry about the stability of that. We don't want to go further out. You know, we want to be responsible and get to the point where we have more than sufficient water and then, and stop.
Now, just quickly, if you were to go inland to, the dock as you have now, and I know there's a certain point where you get closer and closer to the shore, how many boats would you be able to store along that dock? Just out of curiosity.
So you're talking about
Taking out the fork as it is now, okay? How many more boats would you be able to store? Just out of curiosity, that's all.
With or without a float?
Well, so you're talking about like tying them up to the side of the dock?
Correct.
Wharf style?
Correct.
I mean, you know, we don't want to do that, but, you know, a big part of the length here is the gangway and the floats. You know, but we're fortunate where those boat lifts are to have, again, the -5, 6, 7, you know, good water, you know, 3 feet. You know, the commission certainly can impose a number of boats if they choose. Again, you just don't know how many jet skis, how many skiffs, how many 30-footers. I mean, there's only room for, you know, 2 30-footers on the outside of the float, say, and maybe one in the middle, and then you have the boat lifts, which, you know, is just, that's, you know, they put it on the lift, that takes away the shading issue.
All right, that's all, thank you.
Kwame?
Yeah, I just have a quick question, and maybe I just need to hit the books a little bit more, but how many docks can you have next to each other? Is that a state thing? Like, you know, like, could they be like a dock and a dock and a dock and a dock? Does it matter?
Well, from the Chapter 91 people's standpoint, and you can see from the other 2 docks, they're right up against the property line. You know, there's a different reason for either one, but Chapter 91, and they want you to maintain 25 feet from the extension of an abutter's property line or get a letter permitting a lesser distance. And so, you know, we get it. It's easy enough to go on Google Earth or Mass Mapper and you look at the neighborhood, and every other house on Sias Point maybe has a pier, and we're basically putting ourselves in the area that's least disruptive to the 2 existing ones on the other side. I didn't mention it, but, you know, we do have an email from the harbor master, which Mr. Pichette shared with us. And my interpretation of his email is that he doesn't take any objection to the pier in this location. We have not planted or transplanted any shellfish within this area. The area is open year-round to shellfishing and may be utilized for both commercial and recreational. But I know from past experience, when Mr. Buckminster is strongly opposed to a pier, he isn't shy about it.
Thanks.
Jessica?
Did you say that you're...
Microphone, Jessica.
Sorry. Did you say you're in litigation right now to get the 7 lots approved?
Not part of this hearing.
Well, I'm just wondering right now, how many lots are there that make up this, maybe that's a better question. How many lots are there that make up the total property? So if you didn't need any further approvals from anyone else, how many houses could you build by right now?
So there's 3 existing parcels, and there's the mansion in, you know, basically in front of this one. So there's 3 lots, and there's 2 houses existing.
No, the question is, how many, you're planning for seven
yeah, as-
homes when everything is approved?
Correct.
But right now, what you have is basically 3 lots by right to be able to have 3 homes.
I would say that's accurate, yeah.
But the dock is designed to support the anticipated or future hopeful approval of 7 lots. Is that right?
Correct.
Is there any reason not to wait until you have the approval for what you're looking for to be able to ask for approval and get approval for a dock that supports that many houses as opposed to what you have right now?
Yeah, it's just a question of time and money. And so, you know, not to say that this would immediately get built, but, well, it won't immediately get built because we're going to be waiting a year or at least 10 months to get a Chapter 91 permit. So that's why we don't want to wait at the local level. If there's an issue, we want to know about it. And an issue related to the environment, unrelated to the litigation that's going on.
Okay. So, if I'm listening, what I'm hearing, the owner of this pier would be RESE LLC.
Correct.
It could eventually be turned over to the owner of Lot B, where it could very well be, because Lot B is where you access this pier.
I don't see that,
No,
in any scenario, I don't see that happening because that mansion needs to go.
Well, it's just
It's
somewhere.
on Lot B.
Yep.
And so there would never be a scenario where Resi LLC, chose to.
Would relinquish the actual piece of land the pier lands on.
Correct.
They could very well carve out that square that you step on to get on the pier. Is it something to think about that if this is approved, one of the stipulations is the subdivision must be approved before this is built? It could very well be a stipulation that any boat put on this or the lifts be allowed for 2 feet below the lowest point of the boat, whether it be the hull or the motor. I'm just thinking out loud. So we have the stipulation for the horseshoe, we have we've heard from neighbors about the one more pier in a very congested area, reduction of shellfishing and recreational use of the property.
It's not just one more dock.
It's
one more dock with 7 boats.
Yep. It's one more dock that can accommodate up to 7 boats as long as there's 2 feet of water. If I take a look at this, there's, how much water is under the boat lift, 3 feet?
Sure, so mean low water is minus 2.1, and we've got, we got a -5, we're on the lower side of the -5, so that's where we get 36
Okay.
inches. And then it gets better, 6, 7.
Yep.
But with the shape of the soundings, you can see that, going out any further doesn't really gain us anything, so it's not what we would want to do.
We could stipulate the number of boats. We could require that at least 2 feet of water be maintained underneath the bottom of these boats. So we may not, we could very well say you can't get all 7. We just talking out loud as to some of the conditions that could be placed on this if it is approved. Is there anybody in the audience would like to speak to this project that hasn't already addressed us? Anything new to add from what you did last time? Then please come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, everybody. I think familiar faces. Mary Oliveira. I have been down there for 50 years, and I have seen this beautiful, small, fragile shoreline slowly disappear. We're talking 7 boats. We already have 7 docks in the same small area. It's an incentive, obviously, for the developers. You want a house, you can have a boat. All this other information is all open-ended. We don't know how big, we don't know who's going to maintain them, we don't know who's going to own them, who's going to be responsible for them. And as far as the harbor master recommendation, and David Pichette, that's all hearsay. We have nothing in print that I know of. Maybe you people, have gotten recommendation, or, you talk to each other, you come down that little beach. This is an incentive, obviously. They'd much rather sell a house lot with a boat opportunity. I'm just telling you, you're the Conservation Commission. That means to me that you protect the environment. This to me is exploitation of the environment, and it's going to be a mess. And it was a reminder when we saw the hurricane. We've all seen the hurricane in the south, and all these boats all piled up on each other. I don't go back as far as Sawyer's Point history, but the reason Sawyer's Point was even available for anyone in my generation to build a small house was a hurricane of 1938, which leveled the whole point. I'm just talking about this open-ended, we don't know, we're not sure, when common sense, it doesn't make sense. So please, take it from a middle-aged lady who's been there a long time. I'd hate to see that small little shoreline destroyed even further. When you put 7 boats on a dock, that's going to be a mess.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments on this project? Please come forward and identify yourself. Well, wait, Mr. Muniz, wait a minute. I saw him? Okay.
Madam Chair, Thomas Donahue from 12 Sawyers Point Road. I did send an email to Director Pichette 2 days ago requesting a copy of the Harbor Master's report, and I see he's not here, so we never got it. And I would send it out to the 30 neighbors involved in the interest in this approval of a dock. So if we could continue it, that would be fine.
Does he have an email address for you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Would you be willing to write it down for me?
Sure.
I can more than likely have that on my email. I could forward it to you if you were to provide me with your email address. If I still have it.
I think you also need to be aware that the harbor master looks at projects differently than conservation does. We have concerns separate from his concerns.
Okay. What's the L, what?
LT.
T. T.
Yes.
2 T's. And a 1. D.
D.
Okay. Okay, if I can find it, I will forward it to you this evening.
Thank you. And I'll send that out
If
to
not, we can reach out to Dave when he returns to do that, then you can send it out to your points.
Now, we're talking about 7 houses, but as you recall, when the applicant came in to get the road approval, the first thing that you said to the applicant was, Bob, come on, this is a commercial development, there's 7 houses. So they did redraw the plans.
Yeah, with the 50-foot, and please
Instead
stay
of 30,
with the
yes.
plan on the boat, on the
Yes. Oh, okay.
pier.
All
On
right.
the pier.
Okay.
Focus on the
Not,
pier.
Madam Chair, not because of any commercial status, because it's a subdivision of more than 4
Or how,
lots.
more than
More than 4 residential
was 3.
units.
More
has
than
the
3, it needs a 50-foot, yes, but that's
Okay.
not the pier.
And to clarify, the applicant said tonight the project, the houses have been approved by the planning board and your board.
Outside of the pier. We can only talk about what's in front of conservation, please.
I am. The 7 houses have not been approved. And they,
Conservation has no comment on that because nothing has come before us for those. Each house lot would have to be approved as an individual house lot in front of us, so we have no comment on that.
okay, I'm
Okay.
aware, yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay. Ms. Muniz, your turn.
Jim Manise, Precinct 4. And I look at this as privatizing a public resource. The resource being, shell fishing, clamming, swimming, fishing from the shoreline. And this just happens more and more, so we break up the integrity of the shoreline. And so if someone's out there shell fishing and they want to get to the other side, they got to come in and go around it, especially with its floating docks. So that's how I see it, and not just this particular project, but all projects with extensively long piers interferes with our rights to utilize the public resource. Thank you.
Thank you. So here's the question. What type of clearance under this pier is there for people to walk around? I'm having,
So there's more than 5 feet.
at high tide or low tide, or just,
So the requirement for lateral access is to have at least 5, either you have steps or you have 5 feet
so,
at the mean high water, seaward of mean high water is what I see in all the
Okay.
licenses.
so I see it as a 5-foot lateral access. I just didn't read the plan. I see it.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else to comment? What is the position of the board? What would you like to do?
I could deny it.
Do you want to close the hearing and discuss about the handling of it? What would you like
We
to?
close the hearing.
Second. There will be no more input on this particular project, so I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 600, the hearing is closed. Now we talk about the next step. I'm going to ask each of you what you would like to do. Kwame?
Oh, put me on the spot. Okay.
Yep.
So now that the meeting, this is closed, we can't continue.
We can talk.
We can talk.
We can't continue with any more input, but we can talk among ourselves. And I think we have, 21 days to make a decision or something like that?
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be done tonight. Close the hearing, and we're now on a clock to do a decision. Okay, Michael? I know Denise wants to deny it.
I'm kind of on the same route as Denise, to be honest. I think it's too close to the other docks. It's a lot of boats, like I said earlier. So, but anyway, I'll continue. I'll continue to Denise. I'm sorry, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll continue Denise. All day starting to set in. Go ahead.
Carol,
I'm willing to continue talking about it
without a decision tonight?
without a decision tonight. Now, that would be just the board.
Yes.
Well, Madam Chair, I guess there could be issues with open meeting law violations at that point. So, and, without having Mr. Pichette here, I personally would say either you have more questions and you want more information from me, or you're prepared to approve, because we meet the bylaw. And so, I would recommend rescinding your motion to close the public hearing, keep it open. Then you can consult with your agent individually, or, and come back at us with a list of items that you want us to address. such as, typical boats that could be docked here. Unless you're just diametrically opposed to it, even though it meets the standards of your bylaw, this could be a messy situation. So I would recommend that you please reconsider your motion, keep the public hearing open. I will officially request a continuance for 2 weeks, and you can come back in 2 weeks after having, ruminated over it, discussed it, conferred with the agent, and we'll see what happens in 2 weeks.
I believe we can close the hearing and continue our discussion among ourselves as long as we keep it on the agenda.
And in open session.
Here, in front of everybody, yes.
So,
Not individually, not in groups of 2 or 3 or anything like that. No open meeting violation, just that it's discussion on here prior to making a final decision. We could just ask, by closing the hearing, there'll be no longer any input into the project.
right, and I think that's too severe. Given the situation that we're in, like everyone knows, we're trying to get this done because we're waiting on other aspects. 2 weeks or a month isn't going to make a difference to us, but we want to get through this, and it seems like, people, don't put yourself in a box by closing the public hearing now if you're on the fence about, you just don't know how you would impose conditions that would approve this. I mean, that's what we want. We want conditions that would approve this.
This project would have an adverse effect on this area. The cumulative damage that this would do to this area, there's 7 docks there already. You're proposing a dock to be used by 7 other families in this small area. As a commission, we need to look at the cumulative effects of what's happening in this area.
I understand.
And it's just negative.
And we have to be, if we are going to deny it for cumulative effect, it's the effect of having a dock and not the number of boats on it. Because there's nothing in our bylaw that says we can deny a dock
But the cumulative effect of another dock in this area.
Another dock in the area would be the reason you would
Correct.
deny it, just regardless of the number of size or boats
Okay.
on it. But it's one more dock in an area that already has 7.
Correct.
And there is shellfish in the area.
And it's public waters that are,
Yep. But that is
So I
Denise's
believe-
opinion.
So I believe Mr. Pichette's recommendation was to you was to have us provide information on the boats, or he suggested a denial.
Either continue or deny, yes.
Correct. So, please, I would ask you again, I would request a continuance in order to provide the information that Mr. Pichette has requested, and we'll see where we're at in 2 weeks.
How would you provide, I'm continuing the hearing, I'm sorry, I'm breaking protocol by having this discussion after we've closed the hearing.
Well, I'm asking, so if you would please reconsider.
All right,
Can we make a motion to reopen the hearing?
if you would like to do that, would you like to continue to open the hearing?
Well, we can't discuss it if we don't.
We can discuss it, but not with anybody on that side of the table.
Right.
It's only us that we can discuss it among ourselves.
Okay.
On the table here in front of the public, but we can't get any input from anybody on the other side of the table. It's my understanding.
Okay. Right. And no,
No what?
I don't want to make the motion to open it.
Okay,
I'm with Denise on this one. I think it will do far more harm than it's.
okay,
I
the
just think
motion
it's-
has been, we have closed the hearing. Do you want to, the question I'm asking, do you want to make a decision tonight, or do you want to wait for their next meeting to make a decision?
I'd like to do it tonight.
You
I
like to
think
do it tonight?
I already have my decision, so I'm with Denise. Tonight's fine with me, but.
All right, someone would like to make a motion?
I would move to deny this project.
Second.
I want the reason why, and I want it on the record.
Based on the cumulative effects of having an additional dock added to this area.
Second.
Shellfish.
Shellfish, I mean, I want to get everything into it. Number of docks, it's year-round, shell fishing in the area, horseshoe crab spawning area. Impact on public and residential? Recreational value to the area.
That is the motion to deny the project.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to deny. All in favor? I'm going to ask for a roll call. Kwame?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Sandy? Yes. The project is denied.
Thank you all.
Do we sign this if we've denied it?
No, I don't think so.
I want it. Sign mine on this. I want it.
Oh, I have to wait for a denial. Next, Wareham MA LLC, 91-101 Faring Hill Road. The one that will break your back picking it up. We have new plans?
You do, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Oh, Dave has written a 2+ page field notes. Yes, please. Oh, yes.
All right, we'll take a 2-minute break.
Yes, if those that need.
Is that okay?
2-minute break?
Fine with me.
That's fine.
You okay?
Drinking coffee.
2-minute break.
2+ page. Do we have those? No? Of course. Of course.
I don't think we sign anything.
Do we get new plans,
For Fearing Hill?
Faring Hill?
I handed them out.
Mike handed everything out.
Well, we got nothing down here.
Nothing.
Oh,
He didn't share with you.
We don't matter.
Sorry, yes.
I only had, you know what? I only had like books and stuff, so that's probably why I just thought that was it, so. we just pass it out. Really? You pass them down to her?
Sorry, yes.
That's my fault.
Oh, this is one.
So we get these down, excuse me.
Thank you very much.
And I'm gonna need one.
This is not,
Okay.
this is the dock.
Mike, this is the dock, don't worry about that. That's the dock.
This isn't.
No, this is the dock.
Yes.
I want this back.
The dock.
What was in here?
No, it's right here, this is what you need.
You don't want that one.
That's all Fearing Hill right there.
Or Mr. Bichette
But
gonna
do-
have
do
some
you
of
have-
his paperwork.
You know what, I'm gonna just throw all the- up in the air and
I have it on computer, that's why I don't mess with it.
whatever was on that pile, Mike picked up.
Okay.
There's only 2 copies?
$2, so I kept the pass one down.
What can I do?
Is that Fearing Hill? Yes. All right, you need to share.
Right, so I'll take this one, you can do that, and you should be fine.
There you go.
Oh, boy.
I got one here.
Okay, and then we've got one here for us.
Okay, you can have that.
Holy crap.
I don't know, I have a transmitter or somewhere. It was like,
Okay.
Mr. White, we're ready.
all right.
That's what? 7.
Mr. White, we ready? Okay, thank you for allowing us a few minutes. We are about to continue the hearing on Wareham MA3 LLC. Please come, if you're identified, please come forward, identify yourself as you're representing the project.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. My name is Joe Shanahan. I'm representing the applicant Con Edison Clean Energy Businesses, and I'm accompanied by our consulting engineer, Rich Tabazinski, from Atlantic Design Group.
Okay.
That doesn't tell me a damn thing.
Mr. Bichette has prepared field notes to be read.
Okay. Are we ready? The project site is at 91 and 101 Fearing Hill Road. The project involves the construction of a commercial solar array in the buffer zone to BVW and a 20-acre solar project with battery storage component is proposed at the site. This project has been awaiting final project plans and final comments from the town's consulting engineer. Final project plans were recently submitted for the project. The site will be clear-cut and a perimeter fence will be installed around the project. Based on the information provided and the comments from Neil Price of Horsley Witten Group, I believe the project will have adverse impacts on the downstream wetlands. Clear-cutting 20 acres in this property will result in a degradation of water quality treatment compared to what currently exists, as acknowledged by Mr. Price. Any level of degradation to water quality to water going into bordering vegetation wetlands would be considered an alteration under the town wetland bylaw. It has also been stated that the hydrological study was not intended to determine impacts from the project to the wetland or east side of the project, but instead was focused on determining impacts to the surrounding residents. Even as such, the study concluded that the project would result in an increase in runoff towards the homes, but that increase would be considered minor as conservative estimates or assumptions were made for the study. On the wetland side or east side of the site, the project would direct stormwater runoff that currently runs broadly over the entire hillside, thereby dispersing the water generally over the area and direct into the stormwater detention basin with overflows that will be created at 2 specific points. In times of lower water flow, the detention basin will have a damming effect, slowing water flow to the BVW down the hill. In times of large rain events, the detention basin will result in channeling stormwater runoff into 2 new locations, which will, in my opinion, change the normal flow of water down the hill, resulting in increased velocity of stormwater down gradient of the discharged points and the stream that emanates from the wetland system. Even as things currently exist, this stream overflows its banks during spring when water levels are high and in certain large rain events. Clear cutting the gradient land of trees, which serve to take up a certain volume of water and to dissipate the velocity of the runoff, will exaggerate the problem and result in damage to the downstream wetland, which is also valuable town-owned conservation property. Clear-cutting a large chunk of the forest will also leave the exposed edge of the remaining forest more susceptible to wind damage, as the wind buffering capacity of the forest as a whole will be compromised. Some of this area will be the buffer zone to the BVW. There is no mitigation for this impact. The project will also be surrounded by a perimeter chain link fence, which will create a barrier to wildlife and fragment the existing wildlife corridors that currently exist in this area. The applicant has worked hard to make improvements to this project over the course of time, and the construction sequencing plan that was provided will minimize sedimentation and erosion problems that might occur during the construction. The problem is the longer-term impacts that will result from the construction of this project for the reasons mentioned. It is not that the applicant isn't trying to make improvements. The issue is incredibly poor site selection for a project of this nature. The site is the top of a hill, adjacent to existing homes in a residential zoned area, adjacent to wetlands and town-owned conservative land. No matter how much you try to improve upon a poorly sited project, it's still a very poorly sited project. The reality is that clear-cutting a large amount of forest on top of a hill is going to create problems for the surrounding homes and the adjacent wetland. Some impacts may be able to be mitigated to some extent, and others may not. The fact that an insurance policy is being required to pay for impacts to surrounding homes, should they occur, is disconcerting. In my opinion, based on the information submitted, this project will result in the alteration of bordering vegetative wetlands and to the town-owned Fearing Hill Conservation Area. For the reasons I stated previously, alterations to the BVW should not be approved. The Commission should focus on preventing alterations to the BVW and on protecting the town-owned Fearing Hill Conservation property. Once the forest is clear-cut, it is gone forever. The impacts resulting from this project won't be fully realized until after the project has been completed. Insurance policies may not be able to correct the alterations to private residents or the bordering vegetative wetland. The best insurance policy is not to allow this type of project at this location. I recommend denying the project based on the town bylaw, which states that projects should not result in the alteration of wetland resource areas and the protected interests of the bylaw, and that the Commission has the authority to deny projects based on the unacceptable cumulative impacts to wetland resource areas and their protected interests.
Thank you. Joe, any response?
Naturally, Madam Chairperson.
I would think so.
First of all, just from an overview, I think it's important to note in the legal notice, as well as the intro to Mr. Pachette's report, the reference to a solar project in the buffer zone is a bit of a mischaracterization of the situation. No part of the solar project, that is the panels or even the fence around the panels, is in the buffer zone. One of the things this commission and Mr. Bichette did early on, because as you know, I've been here for almost 18 months, is Mr. Bichette and the commission decided that it didn't want to proceed until the planning board got much into this project and the town's consulting engineer reviewed and commented upon that project. Over the last 15 months, that due diligence by the planning board, review by Mr. Rowley, morphed into the hiring of a town consulting hydrogeologist. Over those 15 months, we have worked with the planning board, with Mr. Rowley and Mr. Price, and ultimately, as of last week, we had a plan which addressed all of their concerns and incorporated all of their recommendations to the point where both the town's consulting engineer and the town's consulting hydrogeologist have approved the project as shown on the plans that you received last Friday. So to take 18 months of work and the report by the town's consulting engineer and the town's consulting hydrogeologist and put together a 2-page report that recommends denial of the project without even sharing that with me in advance is just terribly unfair. So I will let you know as I go just a little further that I would ask that the Conservation Commission vote to continue this public hearing until your next meeting on October 19th, so we can at least see a copy of this report and, if necessary, respond to it. This project is not built in the buffer zone, which gives this commission jurisdiction. As a result of the last 15 months, this project has been scaled back from 25 acres to 18 acres. It's been reduced by 24+% of its original proposal. And in doing that, on a 44-acre site, what we have is 4,085 square feet of grading and stormwater features in the buffer zone. That's what's in the buffer zone. Grading and stormwater features that were recommended by Mr. Rowley and Mr. Price. That is what is before this commission this evening. The tree clearing to which Mr. Bichette refers, and 18 months ago told this commission he doesn't believe in tree clearing for a project like this, is not what is before this commission. And his comments about runoff, groundwater, or any such things have all been addressed by the town's consulting engineer and the town's consulting hydrogeologist. So I don't quarrel with Mr. Bichette's opinion. I do quarrel with his qualifications to challenge the findings by Mr. Rowley, the town's consulting engineer, and Mr. Price, the town's consulting hydrogeologist. Again, we are proposing grading and stormwater features in 4,000 square feet of a 44-acre site. That is what is before this commission tonight. There are no solar panels being proposed within the 100-foot buffer zone, and there is no work proposed in the 50-foot no-activity zone under your wetlands bylaw. So what we're before you with, and have been before you with for 18 months, is 4,000 square feet on a 44-acre site. And I would repeat that Mr. Bichette and this commission has waited 15 months, rightfully so, to get the report from Mr. Rowley, to get the report from Mr. Price, before he could write his report. Now that he has those two reports, he's ignoring both of them and recommending the denial of the project because he doesn't want to see trees cut. That just isn't what this commission is for, and that's not why we applied to this commission. So with all due respect, Madam Chairperson, particularly because that report is so extensive and was not shared with us until tonight, I would ask that this matter be continued for 2 more weeks, that we be provided with a copy of that report in order that we can look into it and, if necessary, respond in certain respects to Mr. Bichette. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I know there's a lot of people here to comment on this particular project. I'm going to ask that you be limited to 2 minutes worth of discussion, and only on the impact of wetlands. Not tree clearing, not phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only the impact on what this commission has authority over, which is wetlands and the runoff into our wetland. Is there anybody would like to come before us and give us their 2 minutes worth of opinion or comment on the project? If not, I'm going to ask for, wait a minute, little slow going up there. Okay, gentlemen? Only wetlands. Yes. Yep. So please tell us who you are.
Eric Lintela, 15 Squirrel Island Road.
Okay, your 2 minutes have started.
I live right behind the residence on Faring Hill. I think Mr. Pichette's comments were right on the money. A lot of those ideas he's brought up, concerns, many of the residents have brought up for the past 18 months at the planning board. There's been very little input we've been able to have here without having them present to talk about the concerns. And I think Mr. Pichette has all those skills, all those credentials to judge. And I don't think it's just about the tree cutting. Water is the issue, and it is the wetlands. And I'm just going over more details. There's a ridge. Water goes down the north side, goes down the south side, comes down the south side, and they've got a proposed trench, 24 inches by 24 inches with a 6-inch pipe that diverts the water back into the watershed.
We're only talking about what happening on the east side into our wetlands.
And that's where the water's going, from that trench to the east side into the
I
wetlands.
thought you said it was on the south side.
From the south side, it comes from the north, it moves around, down, and empties back into the wetlands. He's got a lot of filtration things there that he'll talk about. But the water comes down the south side and moves. It's another divergent like the basins he's got.
Yep.
But it moves the water to the wetlands, and that's a major issue. My 2 minutes are up.
See the man?
You want me to
Joe-
approach, Madam Chairperson?
Joe, just point out I think he's talking about that white rectangular thing near the bottom. He's talking about that site, correct?
Those are the areas of the buffer zone that are
Yeah, but
that are being disturbed.
He's talking the south side where the water flows from the north.
Well, that's definitely the south side, that's definitely the north side.
Yeah,
I'm not
so-
sure what Mr. Lentano is talking about.
Where are the wetlands?
Yeah, I'm really confused.
green.
That green line is the wetland. The orange line is the buffer zone.
And so the white areas are just the 4 small areas that where there's some grading in the buffer zone.
Those are the 4,000 square feet that are encroached upon in the buffer, which, by the way, are all at least 65 feet away from the wetland itself.
Those plans behind you are
Within our
showed in more
100 foot.
detail.
Within the 100 foot,
Yep.
65 feet.
Okay. Next person to comment on the project, please raise your hand. Who's up first?
I would like to...
Yep, please, I need to come in. And Nancy, we'll give you your 2 minutes once you've identified yourself.
I'm Nancy McHale. I live at 87 Faring Hill Road. I'd like to elaborate and explain Mr. Lantala's question or comment about the drain that goes around. What that does is it diverts the water from the portion of the hill that would go to the Sippacan River. It takes that portion and sloughs it into the Weweantic watershed. Having diverted those waters, there's going to be long-term impact potentially to 2 different watersheds. those watersheds are under your jurisdiction, is my understanding. And I'm sorry if I've misunderstood that, but that is exactly what's going to happen. That stormwater basin number 3 is where all of that water from the entire hill is looking to get diverted. That is not a good idea, in my opinion. That goes right into those wetlands, into the Faring Hill Conservation Area. So those 4 spots, while he says that's all you have jurisdiction over, the fact that they're diverting half of the water that's on the hill, I'm sorry, the hill is wet. Nobody denies that the hill is wet. We all have septic systems. Most of us are not on town water. We all have at least half, probably 3/4 of us have wells that we still rely on. Okay, so I get that. So the owners of the 44 acres has options. There's like 5 acres in front of this 22-acre project. Why isn't the water being diverted from there into that area? That would then put it all into the Sipican watershed instead of putting it into the Weweantic watershed. There's about 13 acres on the north side that the property owner owns. Why isn't the water going there? It's going right into the Weweantic watershed. So, thank you.
Thank you.
May I respond, Madam Chairperson, or do you want me to wait till the end?
No, you can respond to her.
Madam Chairperson, members of the commission, everyone is entitled to their opinion, and this is a public hearing, and everyone is entitled to express their opinion. It's the responsibility of the Conservation Commission to look to the qualifications and the substance behind those opinions. And I would remind this commission.
We know that. Please, you made that a personal comment. I
did not make it a personal comment.
Well, I took it as such.
Well, I apologize for that.
Yeah. I mean, since she was the last one to speak, that was, to me, directed directly to Nancy. And yes, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And
I think Nancy and I, after 18 months, have a better relationship for that. And if that's the way it was taken, I sincerely apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Those comments you've made about me over the last 18 months, I forgive
sorry,
you too.
Excuse me. But I will have Mr. Pichette take a look at this particular hearing and take under consideration the flow of the water to the Sipican and the Weweantic and what it would mean, what it could mean downstream to both water sources. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I would just.
Another lady.
Yeah, I'm not,
in the way back.
he hasn't.
Oh, I'm
finished
sorry.
his one, yeah.
I didn't know if you could see
I
her.
saw her.
Okay.
The hour is late, Madam Chairperson. I'll let the public continue.
Yeah. Next, please come forward and identify yourself.
My name is Julie LaRue. I live at 72 Plymouth Ave in East Wareham. I do not live in the area next to this proposed project, and I obviously haven't been here before because you haven't seen my face before, but I would just like to make a comment that both the Sipican
Wait. Just tell me your last name again,
LaRue.
slowly.
It's L''Heureux.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Both the Sipican and the Weweantic are home to the endangered northern diamondback terrapin. And so if there is runoff coming from this project going into those watersheds, that deserves further investigation before anything is approved.
Will water reduced into those watersheds?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
My only comment.
Next one. One with the bandana. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Catherine Harrelson. I'm with an organization called Save the Pine Barrens.
You got your 2 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Do you have an address, Madam Chairperson?
Sure, I'd be happy to give my address. So I live at 94 Shady Hill Road in Newton.
Thank you.
I'm going to continue with that, thanks. I consider myself, in my childhood, a third-generation Wareham resident. My grandfather built a cottage along in White Island Shores in 1949. 4 different generations of my family grew up in Wareham. I am honored and pleased to be here in front of the commission today in order to speak my piece about protecting wetlands and wildlife in Wareham. I hope I have time, but my comment is in two parts. The first part is in response to the hydrology and hydrologic report by the Horsley Witten Group. And I just have two comments on that. And this was actually, I brought this up to the planning board on Monday, but on page...
Is it affecting our wetlands?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
and your 2 minutes are going by quickly.
Oh, I know, I'm so sorry. So I just want to bring up the fact that the grass cover calculations were done assuming a fair ground cover. In Massachusetts, we've had a historic drought over the past summer, and in the next 20 years of the project, we can expect more.
Grass covering is not part
No,
of...
it's part of the runoff calculations into the stormwater retention basins. It's
Yes, I heard the discussion as to what type of grass would be placed there and
Yes,
what
but it's
mixes.
assuming a fair ground cover, and it was stated on Monday that it will not be irrigated. And what I'd like to state for public record is that we have a drought, and we cannot anticipate the response of the ground cover to ensuing climatic conditions over the next 20 years.
Okay, you made that comment to planning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
It's within their preview.
Okay, thank you. The second part of my comment is that, in regards to the hydrology report, is that there's no alternative siting analysis done for this project. This is back into relation to David Pichette's comment at the beginning of this hearing. I'll wrap up by my comments about wildlife habitat as they pertain to wetlands. As a matter of public record, earlier in this year, Eric Lintala stated that he had personally, and excuse me if I'm a little flustered. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next. And you know you got 2 minutes. So pick what you want to talk about.
I want to talk, oh, sorry, Annie Hayes, 52 Farmers Lane. I want to talk about that the headwaters of Faring Hill watershed are covered with solar panels, as is the whole watershed ridge and the south side, but bending back also into the north side. I'm on the north side, the northeast side. I abut that land. I have wetlands that run into their wetlands. I am not an undeveloped place. I am an animal refuge, and I already see animals that have come down once the boring started, the trenches for the water analysis. Significant water quality impacts unlikely is what Mr. Price said. They're very likely. We have 64% of the neighbors have wells. This is the assessment of the wells that are there compared to the residents.
We need to focus on our 100-foot setback from our wetland. That we
Wetland.
have jurisdiction over.
I'm concerned also about what runs into the wetland when the solar panels are up. Is that relevant?
You can comment on it, but you got 2
Okay.
minutes.
Okay, thank you. The project has 7,333 panels, at least it did, and the proposed panels are Ginkgo. They're coated with DuPont Tedlar runoff. Water runs off that. It's a water repellent. Tedlar is a polymer PFAS, and PFAS have exploded on the scene as being in the most tiny amounts, 0.004 parts per trillion, that are dangerous to human life.
Your concern
and
is
plant life.
pollution of the water runoff.
I am.
Okay,
Done?
I think that you,
Well,
go
I mean,
into
I
all
would
these
like to, let me, one more thing. One more thing. As far as PFAS, they degrade into nanoparticles, microparticles that are attracted to the soil. There are studies that are being done now because this is just the topic. Billions of dollars of lawsuits nationwide, globally. The PFAS go into the soil, and little creatures like earthworms are eating them and having DNA damage.
Okay, thank you. Just like anybody eating little pieces of
Madam
plastic,
Chairperson,
yes,
just ever so briefly, and I understand the ongoing narrative about PFAS. We have provided a certification to the planning board that our Ginkgo panels will not contain any PFAS. The panels are so certified. There's not a single solar panel in the town of Wareham that's been previously certified not to contain PFAS. Last thing, in our plan to the planning board, we indicated this panel is certified not to contain PFAS. We will put $5,000 in an escrow account, and you can have an inspector as we unload and install the solar panels to make sure the brand and the model is in fact that which has been certified not to contain
Okay,
PFAS.
another issue for
Thank you.
planning.
I would agree.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please come forward and identify yourself, and you know you're limited to 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Barry Cosgrove, West Wareham. It doesn't matter if this thing's been considered for 18 days, 18 months, or 18 years. As much thought as they've put into it, so has Mr. Bichette. He's the dean of this stuff in this town. He's read the reports. He's made his conclusions. The shame of it is, it's too bad this hearing tonight couldn't be at the location right now with this pouring rain. I just drove back from over there. It's too bad the hearing couldn't be right where they say there's not going to be any runoff. You are going to destroy these people's lives approving this project. Please don't continue it. Please deny it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It has been requested to be continued so that the applicant has a chance to read the October 4th field notes. And I think that's fair to give him a chance to respond. What, is somebody else? A little, okay. You've got to get up quicker.
I know, 2 minutes, sorry. It's hard to get up after sitting for so long.
You're telling me?
Yeah. Kathy Papalardo, 87 Fairing Hill Road. Yes, it's about wetlands. Yes, it's about the water. We know all of that. If the wetlands are damaged, if this gets approved in the wetlands, if Concom is even considering approving this, they should request a very large financial security to cover the damage if mitigation has to be performed on the town-owned conservation land. The neighbors, supposedly there's insurance. I realize that's not wetlands issue, but just so everyone knows, Con Edison is selling off its renewables. They've sold it to a German company. So I would say that you should request, you're allowed to request a security, financial security bond or insurance. Concom can do that. You need to protect the Fairing Hill land. That's town-owned. We all paid for that with our CPA. No, it was even before CPA money. Concom threw money in, the land trust threw money in. It is town-owned property. We don't want to have that property destroyed by this project. It's of serious consideration because where those basins are awfully close to the Fairing Hill property, which is where there are wetlands, the wetland flags in there that Dave has put in place. The stormwater basins, somebody's going to have to make sure they're maintained, because if they're not maintained and they're full of sediment or whatever, who's going to take care of that in a timely manner so the overflow, when you get storms like this and you get several inches of rain in a night, to stop it from coming over and going down the wetlands. Gravity works. That's why they're putting in that trench pipe to divert that water from the east side, which has water problems, to the west side, which didn't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other way around. The west side. West to east. Excuse
West to
me.
east.
West to east.
Yes, one more.
Wendy O'Brien, Wareham resident. I just want to say that, and I haven't been to very many meetings, but I have been watching
Excuse me.
the videos of what's been going on and trying to be objective with this. And, you know, one of the things that, and Barry pointed it out, that's very disturbing, is that Attorney Shahan, you know, you know, I spent 18 months, you know, I spent all this money.
Not
How
personal,
dare you?
please. Go to the wetlands.
Okay. So it's hard not to find that that is part of business. And I just want to say that. That is part of this process. I have listened to Dave Pichette, and he has said over and over again, you're redirecting water from the wetlands, right? And he had concerns about that. I heard that. I'm sure anybody that was listening heard that. So it is, in my opinion, I'm not an expert, but what I've read about the wetlands and the Riverfront Protection Act, it is in your jurisdiction to say you're diverting this water away from much treasured, conservation land. There was no alternative analysis done. The other thing that I noticed was that when they did the hydro analysis, this board asked, what was used for the floodplains, and and I'm sure he's a wonderful man, but he was like, I think it was the 100-year flood plan. I think, right? Shouldn't you know, right?
Well-
Maybe it was. So, I think that's something that shouldn't have been passed over. What else did I have? You don't want to hear about the grass, from what I understand, but
That's covered under planning.
Okay. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? If not, no? You've been up. All right. What would you like to do? I would recommend a continuance to allow a response to the field notes, and I need to do some analysis to how many of us have been part of this hearing from the very beginning, so we know who has to review some prior meetings or whatever, but we have to, whoever is going to rule on this has had to have been at or listened to or documented, they've listened to all the meetings since June 2nd, 2021. It's going to take me a while to do that analysis as to say who has been here all the time.
It's only what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, right?
No,
At least 5.
no, I don't know. But have you attended every meeting that occurred in which there was discussion on this project is part of what I have to research.
Oh, okay.
So I have to see who was present and who was absent for everything since
All right.
June 2nd,
Oh,
when we had a discussion. Yes, Denise?
I just have a question for this gentleman. I was at the planning board meeting, not last night, but the one before that, and we were talking about, or you were talking about seeding going on underneath these panels. How will that affect the water runoff?
Well, first of all, and this will take a minute, but if you, and I know it's a planning issue, but I have to share it with you. There is a construction phasing sequencing
Correct.
plan,
I
a
s-
very
I-
detailed one.
I was there for that meeting.
Okay. As the project is to be developed, certain number of trees are to be cut, the area is to be stabilized, and there will be seeding and stabilization, growth established. So it's not seeding under the panels. Under Mr. Rowley and Mr. Price's direction, we have to seed, stabilize, and have taken root
Okay.
the meadow before we're allowed to do anything with regard to the
Before
soil.
you put the solar panels in.
And the intent of that is, per Mr. Price's recommendation, not only to do it, but he's been very specific as to the seed that has to go in the
Correct.
ground to do it. The
Okay.
intent is that that meadow will in fact absorb groundwater runoff and be in place before we stop work
Before you
on the
start
solar
work on that.
project.
And there was a question from one of the people about maintenance and inspections. Can you address that?
Yeah, we have submitted per Mr. Rowley's request or requirement, if you will, there will be a town inspector who will visit the site and look at what is done in Phase 1 and make sure everything on that construction sequencing schedule is done and in place, and have to sign off before we are allowed to move to the second part of the sequencing. And that goes all the way through 9 steps.
Okay.
And Mr. Rowley's comment the other night, to which you might be referring, is he not only wants to make sure that Phase 1 is done before you move to Phase 2, but if you get to Phase 3 and there's a failure of some of the growth that's already taken place in Phase 1, you've got to go back and fix that and maintain it. So it's not do this, move on, and forget about what you've done
Right.
previously.
It's got to be viable.
It's a cumulative program.
Okay, and the maintenance afterwards, when the project is up and running?
Pardon me?
Maintenance afterwards, up and running. They were talking about these
Stormwater basins.
being full of dirt and not able to filter properly.
That's an issue with any particular project. To quote Mr. Price, as far as safeguards on this project, where normally you seek belt and suspenders, Mr. Price's comment to the planning board, you may have heard it a week ago, was this project has 2 belts and 2 sets of
Suspenders, I do remember that. Okay.
And basically what there is there'll be a surety in effect. If we're notified, hey, come out here and clean this basin, if we don't do it, the money will be there for the town to go in and do it immediately. So again, it's something not normally done, but because of the scrutiny that this project has undertaken, if you will, there are those belts and those suspenders.
Thank you.
Sandy, I also have a question as well. For those who may not have heard on the Conservation Commission, not the last planning board, but at the previous planning commission, Ferring Hill Road is a rather long, windy road, and there's a small underlying bridge as well at one end. Not during any of the phases, but at the very, very, very beginning construction, where is the construction equipment going to be placed?
We addressed this at the planning board. Mr. King raised this question at the planning board. And like any project, when you get to a site that has yet to be entered,
Okay.
we'll have a police traffic detail on Ferring Hill Road because there will be equipment that has to be unloaded in order to get in and create our access and our staging area. Once that access is off the road and there's a staging area, which is shown on our site plan, then anything that takes place will come in, turn off of Ferring Hill Road, and go up into the staging area, and will be off the travel way. But initially, just as when we went in to dig our test pits and to drill our ground monitoring wells, we had a trailer truck come up with the driller on it, had to offload it and bring it onto the site. So probably for the first several days, there'll be a traffic detail there to deal with that issue. But once we've cut enough trees to get access and create that staging area, lay down gravel, then it won't be a problem going
Is that answering your question?
Well, I see at one end, there's a wetland, like a wetland buffer. The other end, we know there's streams, and then there's like houses in between, so I'm just not sure
Where their staging would be?
where the
yeah.
staging area would be.
He just indicated that it would be as gradual as the trees are cleared onto the...
And that's why I asked in the beginning, not in the state, not like phase 3, phase 4, but at the very beginning.
Yep, you did say that,
That's why I was just
yep.
a little concerned about where they stage it.
And I would be concerned whether or not those bridges can handle the tonnage of that stuff going over it. But that's another topic, because some of those bridges on Ferring Hill are a little old. But that's another topic, not part of this
There are
discussion.
tractor trailers traveling that road
Yep.
every day of the week, Madam
Yep.
Chairperson.
So if you're done, I'd like to take a motion until 10:19 to continue.
So moved.
I have that motion. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Not me, I'm with Dave.
Okay, hold on. 10:19?
You don't want to continue?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Two. So we're-
and mine will be like the same as before. No one knows.
5-510.
You don't want,
Correct.
you're ready
I'll
to
stand
make
with-
you're ready to close the
Correct.
hearing?
I'm with Dave on this one, correct, so. Just like I did on the other one, I
Okay,
guess.
but we're not denying it, we're just saying no more continuing.
Right, that's
You don't
all.
want to continue it anymore, is what you're saying?
Correct.
You're
but-
ready to make a decision?
Correct,
Okay,
but I'll-
so
but-
we're 510 to continue to allow for a response to the field notes. Yes, Nancy?
Thank you.
No, it was... We're just continuing.
Okay, it was a point of order if you were going to close the hearing, because then Mr. Shanahan
No, we're not.
Not closing.
addressed.
We only, it's a 510 to continue.
Continue.
Thank you. Misunderstood.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
So we still have work to do, so for those who are going to leave, please quickly and have your discussion outside the closed door, because we have more to go. Okay. We have a certification of compliance. Thank you.
Wow. Well,
Right, what's the matter?
That's from their site.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here from 48 Lakeview Drive? Ah,
No, he just voted not to close the hearing.
Lakeview Drive?
No, not to close it. He wanted to close the hearing.
Kind of losing track here.
Still safe. Holy cow.
So give us a second to pull our paperwork together.
All right.
All right, so we're just requesting a certificate of compliance.
Hold on a
Wait
second.
1 second.
Okay.
We gotta get them out the door. Door shut, please.
Thank you. We have a request for a certification of compliance for 48 Lakeview Drive.
I don't have
Let's see.
Mr. Pichette's notes again.
Nothing in there?
No, wait a minute, let me see. West. Dear Mr.
He
Pichette.
indicated to me that everything was in compliance, that it was built as first planned.
You have to take, we'll have to take your word for it.
That's what his note to me said, that...
Okay, then we're
it was-
fine.
I have two as-built plans, I think, if you want to see them.
No, it's okay.
We have an as-built and a prior plan.
I have,
Conditions.
It says existing conditions. All I've got.
Well, that's your as-built plan. There's nothing else in here?
There's nothing else in there.
You know, oh, Dave. Take my word that he said it was okay?
Yes.
Yeah, would you be willing to take my word that it was built to plan?
Dave verbally told her that it was taken to plan.
if you guys want to take a look at these, I have
That's all right.
an as-built plan and two of the plans from the proposed conditions, but...
I don't know why there's no note in here.
There's no note, just something for us to sign. So obviously, he felt it was done.
Yep, that was the note, said it was good. Okay, someone?
Move to, go ahead. Certificate of compliance.
That's the motion to accept, and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Okay.
was which one? That was 48
48
Lakeview Drive.
And we'll sign the documents, and when you get a chance, stop by and see Dave for the paperwork. It'll take a while for him to get the paperwork for you, but
Okay.
you've been approved. Okay. I sure hope he's got paperwork in the next one.
All right.
Yeah.
16 Fisherman Cove.
Yep. One is for a seawall, and the other one for expanding his patio. Dave?
Yeah, I'm assuming because he put the paperwork to sign in it, that he approved it.
Yeah, he says to me that the seawall repair is okay.
Oh, yeah, I guess I should, shouldn't I? Sandy, sign it before you pass it. He doesn't, he has to
Is
just
there-
talk to Dave
Yep,
when
he
when
needs
Dave
to
gets
talk to
back.
Dave. Who's here to represent the BD certification of compliances? You're back up.
16 Fisherman Cove.
I don't know why there's no paperwork in here.
I think it's because he put just to sign it in here and
No, because one of these he says too, we can't approve. But this one is for a boardwalk. This one he did not, this one was for a seawall repair. He says to me that it is okay, that it's been built to plan.
The seawall, that's,
seawall component.
it's the DEP file number 76-1785.
Yes, he says that.
Okay,
That is, he says that
that's the
is-
first of the second?
Yes.
Okay,
That is valid, that it's been built to plan. Will you take my word for it?
yes, move to accept or to issue a certificate of compliance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained.
Hell. Suffering hell. It's my notes. These are Dave's notes.
Okay, so we'll get that signed, and then we'll start talking about 762116, which was a,
That says a different name on it, Matthew Betty?
this says
That's Bet-
Matthew Beatty.
Beatty.
Okay, let me get this signed. This one came before us in March 2010 to reconstruct existing decks and deck placement. Okay, and I'm going to pass out a picture of what it looked like prior to our hearing. And at the same time, in this document, in here someplace is the plan. Yes. Here is the plan to build decks over the existing.
Compare it to the picture, Jessica.
All right. Here is the plan that was proposed, and you have also the as-built plan. So what I have given you is a picture of what existed when they came for us as a plan.
This is the,
That is what was proposed and approved.
this is what was.
Yep. So that what we have here is This is what exists now. And I only have one picture. So you can see that what was proposed, they built patios well beyond what was the limit. Are you seeing what I'm referring to?
Oh, absolutely.
And Dave has an objection to, it was Mike, right?
Yes, Mike.
It's a big difference.
So you can see that what we have here,
7 feet longer.
I don't see where they built to the original plan of decks, reconstruct existing decks and deck placement. But they proposed and built patios far in excess of what was approved. So we cannot issue a certification of compliance, and the question we have to ask is whether or not we insist that those decks be removed.
The patios.
Patios.
Any idea when they were built? When those patios were put in?
No, that was before our time. We didn't do the proposed plan in 2010 nor 2005. But the 2000 plan that was done by Riley did show a raised deck to be removed and replaced essentially in kind. That's located on the south side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a existing deck with a, it was a deck above, replaced with a new deck above, below or above a screen porch. So there was a screen porch, I guess, at one time, with a deck above. That was proposed to be removed and replaced essentially in kind, which they essentially did. There was some work that wasn't done completely, which we showed on the plan. For instance, there's a set of stairs
Yep, I
that are
didn't see
located.
them.
Yeah,
And
so
I didn't see the decks they planned either.
the decks,
I didn't see the decks that are on the 2010 plan.
yeah, it's on the
Did I see
2000
the-
plan. Yeah, it's,
But I don't remember seeing, can I see the picture of today?
These are the two pictures right here.
There's only the one
See, this is what existed. Then they filled it in with a room. See, that's a room.
Yes.
Off of one of the
It
patios.
shows 16, and if you look at the plan, it's only 13 feet.
Yeah, so,
They went out further than they were supposed to.
what does this say? Because looking at this patio has been built for a while.
I would imagine so, sure. Yeah. The only thing I can say, too, is we obviously noticed the same thing you're noticing today.
Yeah.
And we specifically put the old footprint or perimeter of the concrete patio that was existing and shown on that 2010 plan. And
Yes.
you'll see it on our plan as a dashed black line. I don't know if you see that on my as-built plan. You see the black dotted line? That represents the approximate location, nope, that was the approximate location of the existing concrete patio that's shown on the 2010 plan. Okay? So what they did was they removed the walkways. There are two concrete walkways that's shown on the 2010 plan.
Yep.
One leading to the stairs going down to the water, the other one leading to the stairs leading to the pier. Those two walkways have been removed and replaced with grass. What they did do after that is they removed the patio, the concrete patio, and they put in these paver patios in place.
Yep.
Okay, and a portion of that patio goes up to the existing concrete patio, but there's also a portion of it that goes beyond the concrete patio. As you can see, the concrete patio, the paver patio on the north side is 3 feet away from the coastal bank versus what was originally proposed, which I think was 10 feet away. Right, so they encroach closer. But one thing they did do is they reduced the amount of impervious concrete pavers. They reduced the amount of solid impervious area, surface, and replaced it with grass and landscaping. So
Some pervious type.
no, I'm not counting the pavers. The pavers is impervious in my eyes.
So they removed part of their
Walkways.
walkways with grass in its place.
Correct, and then they also, in a part of the concrete patio closest to the house, they replaced it with landscaped areas. So when you do the math, and if you look at my cover sheet for this narrative that I created, item number 7, you'll see what I did was I said the total area, the pre-existing concrete patio and the walkways was approximately 680 square feet. The new area of the new patio pavers is 537 square feet. So that's a net reduction of 143 square feet. So
It still did something that wasn't according to plan.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. They definitely did something that wasn't proposed on the plan. But I'm just telling you what the mitigating factors that I see here is that they did reduce the amount of impervious area within the coastal bank, the buffer zone of the coastal bank.
Okay. Patios. Well, we know we will not issue a certification of compliance with this one. I guess the question is, do we have them come back and file an after-the-fact notice of intent for the additional patio beyond what was existing? Or do we just say they must remove? I think this is a good question for Mr. Bichette. I wish he was here. Because either that, we say right now, you must build to the plan, or if you want your patios, come back and ask for a hearing on a notice of intent for an existing patio.
Correct, and that's something that I would go back to the homeowner, the client, and ask them,
The new homeowner?
whichever one.
I'm just trying to think, because you're asking for certification of compliance, because I think they just changed hands.
I
That's
don't
probably
know
why
if
there's
it's
a
been
new septic
consummated,
system.
but I know there is a buyer, and I don't know whether or not they officially bought the
But
property.
it is working, okay.
Yes, they are working they are working to sell it. Whether or not it's been sold,
But until we clear
closed,
this
I don't know.
certification of there is a component on their deed that said this must be signed off on.
Can't sell it without a certificate of compliance.
Yep.
So I guess the question is, if they do decide, okay, we want to keep the patio, because the new owner, the buyer, would like to continue using that patio, is that something that we can do coming back in front of the commission under a notice of intent?
I would think so.
Is that something that would be amenable to the commission? In other words, the approvability of it?
Well, I can't say how we will handle the size of the patio that is there, but it would be subject to discussion.
Sure.
For trade-off for what was removed versus what was
Well,
planted and
and-
stuff like that. But I honestly, 3 feet from the seawall, that's a little
close.
little close.
Tough pill to swallow?
But
I have another question about this, though. On the new plan, it says a sunroom with a deck above, a 16 by 14 sunroom with a deck above. That's not a sunroom with a
Let
deck
me see.
above. If you look.
No, these are the old ones. This is the old one.
That's old?
Uh-huh. I don't, and that's old. So I did not take a picture of the building when I walked around the house.
Okay.
I did ask permission if I could walk around the house of the person that was in there.
So what you're saying is
This was
is supposed to
existing.
be a sunroom with a deck above?
Well, this was
Back
existing.
then. And that's what they were supposed to turn it into?
Yeah, but look at this
Because
too.
even on the old one, it says the same thing.
If you look at 16.5 to the wall here, and now it's 14.4. Here it was 10 feet.
Now
Here
it's
you're
3.
talking 3.
And we
Yeah.
can do
I
a
mean-
screened-in porch below with a deck above.
Yeah.
And that is not
This
what
would never
that
approve
is.
that.
That could be the screened-in porch with a deck above.
Okay, so, yeah, that's possible, we'll have to look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah, that they complied with the plan. If you,
Yes.
I mean, why would you tear down a room to build a deck?
Oh, I don't know, but
It's straight across.
yeah, but that's what the plan was for.
Plan was,
Okay, so I think,
I mean, that isn't.
Do we need to vote to say we need a notice of intent?
That's if they decide that they want to permit this deviation.
Either that, or they
Remove it.
remove everything back to what was approved in 2010.
Well, then that means they would have to pour a concrete patio back.
I mean,
If
they stay within the footprint that was on the 2010 plan.
Right, exactly. If they decide, okay, wait, we'll just stay within the same footprint as the concrete patio back in 2010
Yeah.
with these new patio pavers,
Yes,
but don't go beyond the limits of that concrete patio,
had been, yes,
Yep.
what had existed.
what had existed,
Yes.
would that be something that we have to go back to the Conservation Commission under a notice of intent? Or is that something they just simply do, and we give you?
I think that maybe could come back as an RDA.
Well,
Folks, help me here, I'm not sure.
If they conform the patio to what was planned, I don't see why they would have to,
Well, what existed, it was never in a plan to change the patio.
to what is
was-
on that plan right there.
What existed in
Correct.
2010. Then I would tend to think an RDA, to remove the pavers and restore them restoring with grass.
They even need to do that if they're just putting it back to what it was.
Because I want to fine them.
Oh, all right.
There we go.
All right. RDA
I
it
would
is.
go, I'd go with an RDA on that.
Okay.
Okay, one question, though. If we go in front of you with an RDA to simply remove the section of patio that extended beyond the limits of the existing concrete patio, and to simply just put new patio pavers down within that confines of the,
Reuse the bricks.
which is fine, but what do we do about the certificate of compliance request to close out this order of conditions?
I think it would have been met.
And then you will,
That is my impression, but my recommendation, see Dave and talk to him specifically about it, because you're into something that I'm not.
And also, if you look on the plan, the one side of the house, it states 14, was it 14?
Yeah, and then the difference was like 16 something.
And now the side of the house got bigger.
can you show me?
Here,
Take a look at the,
This
do you have
says-
the 2010 plan?
16.5 to the wall. If you look at the new plan.
This
it's
one
14.
says, yeah.
So what they did there was they relocated their deck steps. Okay, they relocated their deck steps that was on the seaward side, and they literally put it on the right-hand side or the northern side.
That's really the RDA, because it's not what's on. the-
Okay, and that's fine. We,
It changes, the distance has to go into the.
You need to go to a mic.
Denise, you gotta go closer to.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, you gotta get it, everything that doesn't match has to be in the RDA.
yeah, okay, then that's fine. And the removal of the 2 concrete walkways will be in the RDA as well, because that was
Correct.
done.
Yes.
We like that
And replaced it
idea.
with grass.
Yes. So
Okay.
any changes that we see here in the 2010 to what is now has to be included, I would think, an RDA, but speak to Dave.
Well, I was going to say, is it set in stone for an RDA, or do I need to speak with Dave?
Speak to
And
Dave whether or not he feels it's
Yeah.
significant changes for a notice of intent.
Okay,
There's the line as to whether or not it can be covered under one versus the other, and I will leave it up to Dave to make that distinction for you.
okay. Okay, that's what I'll do. I'll wait till he comes back next week and discuss it with him.
Please. 10 o'clock, sorry.
That's
It's okay.
16.
It's way past my bedtime, but
That's,
See if it's that.
we have to go look.
Yep.
Dave will look.
Okay, now I have to get my paperwork
That
right.
goes in here.
this is not going to delay the approval of the septic system work that is in front of you.
Your septic has been approved as it stands. Your first certification of compliance for the seawall has been approved and stands. It's just this one right here.
It hasn't been officially approved, the septic work, because the DP file number wasn't issued.
No DEP number.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But I understand what you're saying.
health and everything else. To me, it's just waiting for that one piece of
Yeah.
paper, everything
Yeah,
else.
okay.
Is that all yours? That's not Dave's stuff?
This is, no, we're doing nothing on it.
Okay. Doing nothing on it.
Okay, I just
We're
want
not issuing the certificate of compliance.
Anything else before I leave? No, we're
I
good?
don't think so.
All right, perfect,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
just clarify with him RDA or NOI.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. I can't believe it's 10 o'clock.
I know.
Okay, just that he issued a formal agenda for our September 17th meeting on the bylaws.
No, on the fees.
Fees, but, oh God, the wetlands bylaw filing fees will be in this room at 4:30 on the October 17th. I think if anybody is feeling like it.
Close the hearing?
They have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Time is it?
9:57. Thank you, everybody.